Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to... Perhaps in order. Amish Earther, Giuseppe Montesano, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Mels 24, Unimento, M, Iron 26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Henrik 86, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Why is there no drop over distance what every sphere has?
Yeah, but that's not also part of the definition of horizon. Yeah, the horizon is the visible boundary where the sky appears to meet the land or the sea.
Yeah, what
Now,
causes that?
That line might be closer to you, might be further away from you, depending on weather conditions. It doesn't mention any drops. It doesn't mention anything else or curvatures, because to do so is to reify. Is to something that is not. The visible boundary where the sky appears to meet the land or the sea.
Well, hold on one second. Nathan, I think you shared the wrong link in Skype.
Really? Oh, okay. Wow, that's a lot of background noise, Carly. Carly? Carly? Hello?
Carly, your mic is open. You're creating lots of chaos.
Thank you. Okay, no worries. I'll...
Nathan, I think you shared the wrong link in Skype. Just putting that out there.
So what causes the horizon to be below eye level if the Earth's flat?
Why? Who cares?
What's causing the horizon to be on 10 miles and should to be on 1.22 miles?
Who cares?
Hold on a second.
Answer my question with
He's using a word. He's using a word. I'm sure he doesn't know the meaning of the word he's using.
Why don't you answer my question first? I've been waiting for an answer.
You're saying eye level. You're saying eye level. What's that?
I got a timer on you guys. What causes the horizon to appear below eye level? I got a timer.
That doesn't matter.
Hold on. Well, hold on. Why
weather
does
conditions
where sea level meets the sky appear lower?
Show me how refraction
is that
lowers
you,
the
Carly? Hold on one second.
horizon.
Everybody stop. Carly.
Just give you an example.
Hello, Carly. Can you hear me?
Have you ever seen fog?
Can everybody stop talking for a minute?
Can you show me how the...
No, obviously there's total chaos. What's going on? What's going on? Hello? Can you not hear me?
Can you show me how refraction changing the physicality of the water?
Removing people from this conversation, because obviously I've got no control over here unless I mute you.
Can you show me how refraction can change the physicality of the water? No?
Why wouldn't you shut up when I asked you to?
I think he's gone.
Yeah, because I had to mute him.
That's good.
Because I couldn't get into the conversation. Nobody would let me control the conversation, so it's just total audio chaos. One guy with a whistling mic. Now you're talking straight through the middle of me. What's going on? Who's talking straight through the middle of me?
Horizon on the top, maybe in the middle, maybe down. Let's speak about that for 3 hours and let's conclude.
Is there an audio issue in Discord? Can they not hear me in there? What's going on?
Do you understand me? Doesn't matter that shit about
I don't know. They don't seem to be responding.
It's a reification fallacy. Anything that the horizon is not is curved. It's horizontal.
Were you muted in there, or are they just not listening?
Looks like somebody must have muted me in there because they're not listening to me. Can you hear me?
Oh,
See, I
Nathan
like
is coming
that.
through now. Yeah.
Did you not hear me earlier?
No, you just came in now.
Okay. Just spent the last 10 minutes yelling my head off trying to get control of the Discord server.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's not your fault. Just a Discord issue. Ah, all is
I
calm
did
again.
like his question. That collie guy's question was pretty slick. You know, why does the point where sea level appears to meet the sky not rise to eye level?
Who claimed it did? Who was claiming it did?
I'd like to know.
Well, hold on. It's part of the piece of nonsense for Glovers, right? Because eye level and sea level don't meet at the horizon, then it must be a globe. And you flat earthers need to explain why it doesn't meet.
What? What was I claiming again? Why have I got to explain anything about the horizon? I'm totally lost. I'm totally confused. Why would I have to justify that answer to that Carly guy? If you're out there listening, my bad. I just thought you were causing Discord chaos, and intentionally I had to mute you, thinking that I could get control because you were depriving me of it when it wasn't the case. It was an issue. So if you're hearing this after the fact, at some point I have to step in and take control of what appeared to be total audio chaos. It wasn't. It was just a Discord issue. Meanwhile, as soon as I muted him, he disappeared for some reason.
Right, but the way his question is phrased, right? Why does the flat level plane meeting the sky not rise to the horizontal plane I create with my eye and meet? That was his question about how flat earthers need to explain that somehow.
Yeah, but why do
You guys actually?
You guys missed earlier where he said the dip is the correction for eye level to horizon.
Yeah, but he meant the dip
eye
of
level
a curve.
to surface level. It's
curve.
not eye level to horizon. It's eye level to surface level. So when you're looking at the horizon and you do a dip correction, you're correcting your eye level to the surface level, not eye level to the horizon.
Well, when you look at with a sextant, you're aiming it at the horizon dead center, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I was trying to tell him that that's what you do. That's how I was trying to lead him that's how you establish level, by aiming at the horizon. But he's like, no, you establish level by like using a bubble. Or get this, a theodolite. He actually said you use a theodolite to establish level, and then
we can do
you
that
look
too.
at the horizon.
There's many different ways to establish level.
Okay, but then why do you need to look at the horizon with a sextant to establish level if you just have the sextant?
I can answer that. I can answer that.
That's what it's designed to do.
And this section has 2 meters.
That's what it's designed to do. That's its specific purpose. Because at sea, when you're rocking around on the boat, it's quite difficult to dangle plumb lines or use bubbles.
Right, but I'm saying when the conditions and everything are right, where you can just use a sextant alone, you aim at the horizon to establish level, correct?
What's the name of the sextant you're specifically referring to? Would it by chance be the mariner's sextant?
I guess so.
Well, you're saying when all conditions are perfect. You're talking about a tool specifically designed for mariners to use the horizon. And there's a correction to be made because your correction is to the surface. Because it's where the surface meets the sky. Well, where the surface meets the sky is below your eye level if you're above the surface. Therefore, there's a minor correction to be made to make it level. However, that's what's available to you when you're out at sea. Now, if you're not at sea, and you're like, well, if you're using that sextant, well, there's other far easier ways of establishing level if you're not rocking around on a boat. Doesn't mean you can't.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, you're making a parallel to the surface level.
Right.
And we call that our eye level.
Right.
Even in his question, he is admitting the earth is flat because he's saying, why does where eye level meet the sky and your why does where surface level meet the sky and your eye level not meet? it's still accepting that the Earth is flat within his question.
He's accepting that what he's got presented to him is a parallel with the surface and eye level.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
but
we're also talking about
rearranging it.
the second stage. We're also talking about the second stage in the case of Al-Biruni, using the sextant from land out to sea. But the first step was from sea first to land. Establish the elevation first, and then you reverse the step. So when we do the deep angle is the second step that Al-Biruni did.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine because you need a parallel with your eye level to even be able to calculate the Earth as a sphere. You need those two flat planes, eye level and surface or sea level, right? And you need where the sky appears to meet it to make that arc that exists below surface level in the mathematics.
Yeah, he needed the baseline. He needed to start with the horizontal first, and then whatever goes above that horizontal is the elevation. So it doesn't start on step 2. You are at land, looking out at sea, and establishing whatever. That would be the deep angle. Step 1 is the one that we're missing.
Hello. Can I get a response?
Yeah, everybody got quiet so you could speak.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Sorry,
I
man.
was heard. Like I tried earlier, but I didn't know if I had a reboot here. Okay, the sextant at sea, the Mariner sextant, is using the horizon to establish the star's 90-degree position to the surface of the Earth. In order for that to work, you must do high-to-high correction so that you have the correct altitude above the surface of the Earth, as if your eyes were on the surface of the water, therefore creating the right angle to you from the star. So that level part is part of it, but the initial part is to rock the sextant on the only thing at sea that gives you a reference, because you don't have landmarks, which is the horizon. As you rock the sextant and say mark when it's perpendicular, that is 90 degrees. But because you're on top of your boat, it's a depression angle and it's obtuse. So you drop that height and get your eyeball on the water. They even have the refraction table to an average. So because if the sighting of the star is below 15 degrees, they want you to really make sure the altitude is correct. Okay? Either way, it has to have a common baseline with the observer who's on the boat, because you subtract that altitude, say 50 degrees, okay, from 90, which leaves you 40. The 40 establishes the zenith distance. And the zenith distance is giving the observers 90 automatically. Because in the boat, you can't do a plumb bob. You can't just get that 40-degree angle from the boat because you can't hang a plumb bob and use your own zenith. So you have to use the zenith of the sun, do the high-to-high and refraction so that it's the correct altitude above a common baseline. And then when you subtract from 90, it gives you 40. And then you say, oh, that's the zenith distance. As if in the second way, you've actually established your zenith. That's why you see that picture of the box. And that's why it has to be a parallel. It's over for these people. That's how it works.
The way the rebuttal works, right, with any of these instances, is to point out what you've just pointed out. All of the corrections are being corrected so that everything runs parallel. The sky and the ground has to run parallel for the calculations to work. So it doesn't matter what they're trying to weasel into a correction in some sort of inference that it's going to be going to a tangent point horizon, for example. No, any corrections are to correct it flat. and parallel with the sky. That's the only corrections that are being done. If there's any inaccuracies in the method, the corrections for those inaccuracies are to make it flat in every single instance. So long as you know that, when anybody tries to challenge you and explain how, no, we're actually using the geometric horizon when we do dip correction. Well, correcting to what? Correcting to flat? No, you're not using a sphere to correct it to flat. Especially when you're... Go on.
Yeah, that was the design of allowing them to do all their rebuttal videos. And I said that they're going to trip up on themselves because they don't read and understand the method and why it's there. Refraction and height of eye is flat earth proofs. It's not glow proofs, because the whole purpose of it, and it is the only purpose of it, is to get the right altitude of the star when the observer is holding the sextant. How high is this star above that horizontal horizon?
Yeah,
Because but go on.
But to even invoke the geometric horizon, you need to invoke a differential between eye level and sea level to calculate it.
Well, this is why the dip and height of eye is essential in the second way of arguing with it, which is the bubble sextant or an artificial horizon using, because they're both artificial horizons, whether it's a pan of Mercury or the bubble sextant. You're actually not using the horizon like the Mariner is. You're using an artificial means to establish what? Horizontal. So if you establish horizontal and you don't do height of eye, but you still have to do a little bit of refraction, it's still saying you got to get the right altitude above the spirit level horizontal. Now, whether you're the Mariner doing it with the two-step method or you're the aviator doing it with a bubble sextant, the numbers are identical. Okay, so then that means that the sea surface is identical to the spirit level, horizontal all the way from zenith to zenith. It's so easy to understand.
Can I ask you a question, 10th?
Yeah.
So when you use the Mariner sextant and you're looking with your eye at the horizon, you're using that to establish a horizontal, correct?
You're using the horizontal to establish the zenith of the star, the 90-degree position of the star against the horizontal. Yes. And then when you...
Okay, so
go on.
So we got to establish a horizontal before we do the dip correction, correct?
Well, yeah, you got to take the initial altitude without dip and then later adjust for dip and refraction. Yes.
Right. So looking at the horizon with a sextant is used to establish the horizontal. That's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
Well, I wouldn't say it even that way. You're using a horizontal to establish a correct altitude above the horizontal. You're using it to say, how high is this star or sun above that horizon? And then when you do dip and refraction, you put your eyeball on the surface of the ocean all the way to the GP of that star.
What 10th Man's trying to explain to you, Righteous, is that the horizontal aspect of the ground is a prerequisite. It's not that you need to establish it that way. You're going to be utilizing it that way. And any corrections will be correcting for your height above the flat plane that is a prerequisite anyway. So when you phrase it, you're establishing a horizontal. Well, you could say that you're leveling the tool with a bubble sextant for the sake of argument. But why are you leveling the tool? Well, so that you've got 90 degrees to the base of the star that you're measuring, is what 10th's trying to get across to you. Well, that doesn't establish a horizontal. It's a prerequisite. It has to be horizontal for it to work.
Right. Correct. Well, I was going to use a level because that's basically what you're doing with a Mariner sextant alone is establishing level, right?
No.
When you're looking at the horizon.
No.
See, I knew I shouldn't have used that word. That's what I used horizontal instead.
No.
It's not the word that's the issue. It's not the word. It's the principle that you're applying after the fact to something that has already got horizontal needed, required, used, being measured. All of those, all of the above, right? How far off you are in terms of corrections for height of eye, for example, when using a Mariner's sextant, are only correcting to the horizontal prerequisite, as opposed to establishing that we've got a horizontal. No, it already is. that's already in place before you even pick up the sextant.
Let me answer it this way. You must establish perpendicular with the horizon and the star, and that's why you say mark when it's exactly 90 degrees. After all the corrections are done, it's proving it must be level, because you're trying to ascertain the correct altitude above the horizon. So you can't do that if you're still 10 feet above the ocean surface. So you got to bring your eyeball down to the ocean surface. That's step one of the dip height of eye correction. Next is how much refraction are you dealing with based on their standard table of, what the barometer says and stuff in the air. And you're going off that. And they even say, look, this could be.
Don't be scared. You can say refraction. Just because they've hijacked it with terrestrial refraction 7/6R doesn't mean that what's done with a barometer, that's refraction. You're talking about what we colloquially refer to as refraction calculations for the stars below 15 degrees or whatever it is. Just say refraction.
Right. No, yes, it is. And I'm going to say it, but I need to explain it for the audience that we're not afraid of it. And I'm basing it on what they say it is. It's not Earth curve. It's temperature of the water and the air at those low levels. That's what it is. So I have to explain it that way first to say that's the kind of refraction that the table in the almanac is addressing. It's not addressing Earth curve. It's not addressing the hill that's behind the thing again. That's nonsense, 7/6R. That's what the ballers put in there.
But the 7/6R is still based on a flat plane. You look at Andrew Thomas Young's calculations that were done on a flat plane. The geometric considerations are what they've confused with existing below surface level.
Exactly.
We're talking about, a variant plane, right? Depending upon your altitude above it is how much further you're going to see.
But there's a, sorry, John, but I just want to say this. But their second method validates what you're saying. What's the second method? Well, what if I'm in an airplane and I'm forced to use a bubble sextant? Say, all right, do you get the same authenticity corrections made to you as the Mariners? Yeah, exactly. So what is the only thing missing from that? Well, we don't do height of eye because we're using a spirit level to establish straight horizontal. Oh, well, can the Mariner with his corrections do it on a curve when you're showing me it has to be spirit level horizontal? No, it has to match. See, it's just the other way validates what's happening at sea. It must be flat.
Right, but the horizontal you establish with your own segment is only being applied in a model, right? You're going to apply it in the social spirit model.
Can you hear John?
What?
Can you hear John?
Sorry, man.
He's just trying to.
I thought he finished.
And what we'll
correct.
I was gonna say quickly before the show starts, does seem to be slight audio issues from Nathan in Discord, but it's probably fine live. But just so you know, okay?
Oh, what's the issue?
Go on, John.
What's the issue?
There's like slight crackling and cutting outs every now and then. It's very slight, but it's.
Well, I need to know that before I go live because I can't sort it out when it's live, so I'll sort it out now. Okay, thanks for telling me.
John, you're welcome. John, you want to go on?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that the point that we've debated about quite a bit, and with the Mariner's sextant, you are trying to find your eye level, and when you apply the angles, it will be at surface level in the model to get your distance between GPs.
Yeah, you're right. After all corrections are made to ascertain the correct altitude of the star, so that you can minus it from 90, so you're not 1 degree off or whatever. You have to have your eyeball on that surface of the water. So there's the dip, height of eye correction, and then actual refraction. Good morning.
Aussie.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to have you all. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Today, they're saying there is no such thing as gravity. It's something else.
What
Oops,
is
I
something
dropped the
else?
helium balloon.
What's something else?
Well,
Gotta know what
they've
gravity is
given up.
first.
They've given up on the standard definition of gravity. Mass attracts mass, so it's something else. It's part of Einstein's 4D space. It's a concept.
Okay, well, they gave up on mass attracting mass because it doesn't.
Yeah, that's my point. But why they said that was that for centuries. So for centuries there was no proof for it, but they kept saying it.
Well, any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
That's a flat out impossibility. Sextant is a angle measuring device, and an angle is two lines meeting at a common point called the vertex.
Any evidence of a physical
You
geometric
can do
sphere
F-all
edge?
with an angle.
You need plenty with an angle.
I built the kitchen with an angle.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, chocolate.
Hey, chocolate.
In the pre-show, we were discussing, as always, all roads lead to a flat Earth. And in the case of the, let's call it the anti-flat Earth blag, that dip correction is actually a measurement to a tangent point horizon debunked in 2020, in which case the inference that you've got a tangent point horizon in and of itself requires the differential calculation between the flat plane you are standing on your eye level. The difference between the two is what you can infer gives you a geometric tangent point on a presupposed sphere below surface level to claim you are correcting from when you do dip correction. However, the dip correction is to correct to flat. No correction is needed if you're using a bubble sextant. And if you're on the ground, your height above the surface is what you're correcting for. To make it flat, so you've got 90 degrees below the star that you're using to calculate where your position is by measuring its angle against the flat surface. Now, if there's any deviation in terms of your elevation above the flat surface, then you have to correct for that. As I say, not needed if you've got a bubble. But the correction is not from some sphere tangent, and it is to the flat plane, because you're going to need 90 below the star. So even if they infer a tangent point below surface level, it won't give you 90 to the star, which is all you are actually correcting for, because the world is being navigated flat. Earth is flat, and all corrections or inferences of sphere bullshit, let's be honest, will lead you to a flat Earth, because their claim in the first place with the tangent, as John was pointing out just before we started the live show, is a correction from eye level to surface level to give you the inference of your tangent point. All roads, even the blag that your celestial navigation has got a tangent point correction in dip, it hasn't. But the road to get to that dip for a sphere came from a flat Earth also. I hope that was a good summary.
Yep, very good.
We have Kali. He's back.
Oh, can you unmute him? It was my bad. I stuck the guy on mute. I'll apologise to him now. No, someone else is doing it while I'm doing it. Carly, my bad.
Do I get the honor to have a conversation with Nathan Oakley about horizontal baselines? Is this happening right now?
I do. I get to apologise to you. So when I joined the Discord server, I had no control. I couldn't be heard by you guys. So I'm there shouting you down, telling you to shut up, and you're just not listening to me. Not your fault, but I muted you as a result of that because it was audio chaos, and it was my fault. So
and I apologize for taking it as, you guys not hearing my argument and just wanting to mute me. Clearly that wasn't the case. Okay. My apologies.
And now, on the contrary, we discussed it for about 10 minutes after you left, so I'm really pleased that you came back. Very pleased, in fact.
Yep, the ground is not your horizontal, right? The point from where you're standing to the horizon line, that is not your horizontal in celestial navigation.
Correct. So the guy who was saying it before you left, we corrected him in that regard. And even though we corrected him, it was reaffirmed by Righteous, who was then saying, well, aren't you using the sextant to establish horizontal? Now, it may be the case that someone goes out and says, look, Nathan says you establish horizontal with the sextant. Okay, if that's the case, I'm wrong. I'll just concede it now in advance. But no, you're not. You're right, Carly.
Holy shit. Listen to him then. You guys don't even got to hear me talk then. He'll tell you.
Well, what's your position? Are you a baller or a flat earther? You're trying to weaseling a geometric tangent point, or what?
Ball, baby.
You're on the ball. Okay. Well, how does this help you? Because you need flat Earth to make that assertion.
I have to find my headphones. Sorry.
Okay. Let me know when you can hear me, and I'll ask you how that helps you. Because you need a flat Earth for it. Something else we discussed in the pre-show. It was John's point. Again, he's on fire today.
Well, maybe he didn't actually think of the arguments. He's just like, no, I'm on a ball. You're right, though, with the flat Earth arguments, but
Yeah, don't straw man me. Come on. I'm here to talk to Nathan. I don't want to get straw man during it by other people. That's weird.
But check it out. You've been
I'm
told,
just
Alan.
guessing.
Save me doing it. He wants to talk to me. My bad. Okay. So
Yeah, I want to know your honest assessment of a dip angle, and you know, if a level line of sight puts the horizon on the same horizontal as the level line of sight. I just want to know. I want to hear you say.
You're conceding that Earth must be flat to have those two things. Yeah, level line of sight.
A level line of sight, yes.
Yes. You don't have that.
If I establish a level,
you don't have that. You need a flat Earth for that.
I need a flat Earth to make a level line of sight.
Yep.
You also need no.
I can't have a level line of sight on a ball.
No.
Let's say I'm standing on a gigantic ball, 1,000 meters across, 1,000 meters tall, and I'm standing on top of it. Can I have a level line of sight on it?
So here you have Atmo, don't you?
Yeah, there's going to be atmospheric condition causing refractions and changes to the position, but I have a level line of sight, right?
So changes to the position of things that have got a straight line of sight. Well, if they've got a change, then a deviation from straight isn't straight anymore, is it? So no, it's just a third time's charm. Where do you get a level line of sight on a ball? You don't.
Perpendicular to vertical?
Where'd you have that when you're looking at things through atmosphere? I'll say it a fourth time. You, on a ball, don't have that. You'll need a flat Earth for that.
I disagree.
Okay, where'd you get it? Level line of sight.
I disagree.
Where'd you get
Horizontal means no changes in elevation. So if I have a level line of sight, that means my angle is level. My eye is level, right? I establish a level where I am, and I look straight to the horizon, and it's below my level line of sight. So I make a dip correction.
Did you not hear me the first 4 times? Sorry, where did you get the level line of sight on a ball, given that you have always in effect, no exceptions, 7/6R as standard, refraction through Ben Atmo layers of sphere-shaped air, always without exception? Given that that is the case, explain how you, 5th time, get a level line of sight. You can't, I'll say it again. Excuse me. You can't, 5th time's the charm. You don't have the ability to do that on a ball. It is not possible for you, sir.
Use a plumb bob.
And that will give you a line of sight, will it? A plumb bob gives you line of sight? Are we talking about line of sight or plumb bobs?
The plumb bob will give you a vertical, and then a horizontal is 90 from that.
That's fascinating.
And that'll give you a level line of sight. That'll help you with a level line of sight.
Your argument was about us looking at a horizon, was it not? Us looking at it through a sextant. Correct?
No. We're not talking about through a sextant.
Yeah.
Well, just
unless you're
looking at
using
the
a double
horizon.
sextant, which can establish
Okay.
level.
So we're looking at the horizon then.
Which is not at 90.
Yeah. And I've asked you that principle, when you're looking at things, isn't acquirable for you on a sphere. 6th time.
Why not?
Because your line of sight is bent always in atmosphere. That's the 2nd time I've told you.
My line of sight is bent?
Shocking, isn't it?
What is a line of sight?
Why are you asking me? This is your claim. I'm asking you about your claim that's about to fail because
you're assuming a vector between point A and point B that's linear.
My bad. Middle of a sentence. My bad. Triggered. Losing. I'll ask again. Your claim was in respect to the horizon. asking us about what it'll do when we don't have a claim. Who cares? How sextants work, that's different, but you're not talking about that anymore. So there's only one claim left on the table, and that's that it's Earth curve. We don't have a requirement for it as a flat earther. I don't have any need for this. So all we're left with is your claim and your questions in respect to the horizon. Well, then we're talking about line of sight, your words, not mine, and your line of sight on a ball is not straight ever. So I've asked 6, now 7 times where you get a straight line looking at anything ever on a ball. I'll say for a 7th time also, you don't. You just yet to concede that. You've gone high-pitched and asked me why it would always be bent, when we were the ones being told by your side of this argument how it's always bent. What is it no Atmo Day when looking at the Black Swan? So we're very clear, because we've been told for nearly 3 years that it's always bent for you. That's you telling us that. You understand that you've told us. I haven't finished. It's been 7 attempts. That's my bloody Lego brick alarm. Again. Give me a minute.
All right.
Can I insert something, Nathan, quickly? Because he mentioned the Plumb bob to get
Shut up,
your
Lego
supposed
brick.
level, but how does that work on a rocking boat?
What's his claim? I need to
It
know how he
doesn't.
gets
It
level.
never does.
To answer his claim with his paradigm on his ball, he needs level to ask us this question, doesn't he? So until he can get past his requirement for line of sight to be straight, he's not going anywhere with this question, because he needs to square that circle before he goes anywhere, Arwin. Now, I've done it 8 times. It's just Carly, who's all impressed to talk to me. Yeah, I need to be impressed with you conceding where you don't have a line of sight that's straight. But you haven't. 8 attempts. How do you think you're getting on? You pleased to talk to me? Your ball's dying, by the way. You haven't got a line of sight.
What would you do to? Okay, you know a level line of sight. What would you do to establish a level line of sight?
Why? Am I using the horizon to claim that the Earth's a sphere with a ball horizon blocking our view of boats and buildings? No, you are. You are asking us questions about the horizon when you've got a horizon claim. It's an outrage. I don't have one. Meanwhile, within your claim, you've got a line of sight that's straight. That's what you're asking us about. 9 times I've asked you where you get it on your ball and told you don't have one, it's always bent. I just need you to concede it before we get to 10, 20 times?
How do you know the angle of the lens?
Why are you asking me? I haven't made a claim about any lenses. Do you need to flail a little bit more? It's going to be 10 times, really.
When you
10,
look at the
10.
when,
Really?
When you look at the horizon, are you claiming it's on the same horizontal
I haven't
as a
claimed,
level line
I
of
haven't
sight?
claimed anything.
Okay.
So meanwhile,
Well,
you've got a
see what I'm
ball
trying to
Earth.
get to.
So meanwhile, you've got a ball Earth horizon, and you've got a line of sight that's always bent, and you're asking us about a differential from something that requires a flat Earth. And I've had 11 attempts to get you to concede your questions, completely debunking your notions of your sphere Earth with your atmosphere bent always lines of sight. 11 attempts. When are we going to get a concession before we can move on? We need it from you. This is so weaselly and tedious.
You wanted me to answer a question. Can you just restate it so I'll answer it
Sure.
for you right now?
Where do you get a straight line of sight on a ball? Go. 12 times.
Yeah, you establish a vertical with a plumb bob, measure perpendicular to it, and that'll get you a horizontal, and then fix your lens with a crosshair so it's on that level. That's how you get a level line of sight. You use a
How
theodolite,
do you
bubble
do that on the
sextant.
ship?
Arwin, I don't need
Whatever.
any help, thanks. Sorry, do you know what the word sight means?
Yeah.
So when you dangle a plumb bob and establish a mathematical principle with respect to the plumb bob, is that sight?
Not yet.
So when you talk about lines of sight and move on to mathematical principles that aren't anything beyond the descriptive language of maths, that's not something we're looking at as in sight, then. So I'll ask again for the 12th time. Where are you getting a line of sight that's straight on a globe? I'll answer for the 11th time. You don't, do you? On a globe, you don't have that.
So what's the bubble level for in a bubble sextant?
So we're not getting a concession. Do you ever get told
Hey, come
as
on,
a
man.
Ball Earth believer
Look.
that you're potentially very weaselly, like attached to your faith, so dogged in your faith that even after 12 attempts of pointing out something that you guys have barked at us for nearly 3 years, you now, in the face of something you guys on the Ball Earth side have barked at us for 3 years, can't even concede after 13 attempts that you don't have a straight line of sight, ever?
Why not?
Because you've told us for 3 straight years that it's always bent in atmosphere. Sphere-shaped air, 7/6 of our as standard. What is it? No Atmo Day, we were told for 3 years, when showing you how the...
correct.
Oh, my bad. Do I need Fundy muting?
No, you don't.
Well, then shut up. I'm telling you about how your argument fails. It's only been 14 attempts with a religious zealot, Carly. That would be you, a religious zealot that can't tolerate how wrong it's been for the last 3 straight years of you, the fundamentalist religious Ball Earth side believer, telling us that the lines of sight are always bent. Now you've got an example that requires a flat Earth, and you're asking me questions about a horizon I haven't got a claim about, and when I tell you you haven't got the thing you need for your example, 14 attempts later, we're yet to get a concession from you. You haven't got this straight line of sight in your example. Why does it take 14 attempts? It's because you're a bloody fundamentalist religious zealot.
Okay, so what's the bubble level for in a sextant?
Why are we why are we moving on? Why am I getting interrupted by Arwin for the 3rd time? I mean, it's just like life repeats itself constantly.
What's a dip angle correction?
So we are talking about sextants.
I mean, a dip angle correction is the difference, the angular difference between a level line of sight and the horizon.
Well, you need a flat Earth for that. Level line of sight and the 90 you're correcting to, both of which are flat and level. My bad. What's going on? Does this hurt?
I'm doing my best.
Does it hurt when I go through the level Earth that is required for a sextant? Does it require you to chant through me? What's going on? He does these scary words, right? Must stop the scary words by talking through them. Here, correcting. Your question was about dip. Yeah, we're correcting to the level surface so you can have 90 at the star. That's a flat Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Flat Earth required.
Right. So if you want 90, what would you do? You want your line of sight to be on 90 to measure the difference between a level line of sight.
You mean what would be done and is done in celestial navigation, as opposed to what I, Nathan Oakley, may potentially do in the future? What is done in celestial navigation requires Earth to be flat so you can get 90 at the star. Now, when you're above the surface level, you need to correct because you're above the level. So you correct with dip to level.
We're above the level.
So it's scary words, right? Scary for a ball believer. Terrifying words. We're just talking about navigation. Why would that require an interruption? Scary words, right? Second time. Not rhetorical. Are these words scary?
Line of sight is above level?
Are these words scary?
A little bit.
Well, you should be. I'm glad you're honest. Yes, they should be scary to a ball believer who doesn't have any straight lines of sight to anything ever and can't concede it, even though 14 attempts have passed by him. This would be scary because we're correcting to a flat plane so that there is 90 degrees below the star. If you were at the star dangling a plumb bob from that, it would meet the ground at 90. And when you correct for dip, you're correcting so it will meet the ground at 90. That's a flat Earth proof. Earth is flat.
I disagree with how you're explaining that.
Oh, well, be my guest. Go ahead. Tell us, Master Mariner, how it's done with a ball.
The ground does not have to be horizontal to have a level line of sight. You don't use the horizon to establish perpendicular from vertical. You're not using the horizon line. That's what a dip correction is. You're correcting for the angular difference between a level line of sight and the horizon line. So that's why sextants have bubble levels in them, to help establish that level line of sight. You get a dip angle correction, and then you subtract that from the height of the sextant.
But it doesn't work on a rocking boat.
And
I
that gives
did.
you, and
I
that
want
gives
to
you an
insert. I've been trying to
elevation
insert
angle.
this for 15 minutes. Yeah? How are you going to use that bubble on a rocking ocean? When the ocean always rocks, the boat's never going to stand still. You can't use a bubble. Yeah? Bubbles in sextants are used for on land
Yes, thank you.
where
That's
nothing
fascinating.
rocks.
Thank you,
Why?
Arwen. Thank you.
Because sometimes the horizon
thank
is
you, Arwen.
obstructed by a hill or buildings. I'm done
Sorry.
now.
Thank you,
Thank
Arwen.
you.
Thank you for that.
Right.
Thank you
That's
very
right.
much. Thank you.
That's correct.
No, you didn't answer my question. I asked you how it did function on a ball, and you've told me how it won't do things and what you won't be doing. I'm not interested in how we won't be doing it. I detailed how we will do it, measuring an angle to a star, the corrections being to gather a 90 degree at the base of the star to your position, so you can triangulate. That's a triangle. You, the star, and the ground are a 90 degree triangle. That's what you're creating. Well, that's what an elevation angle is, and any corrections are to get it to that flat baseline. I've just explained and detailed how it is done and does save lives. What you've done is not that. You've told me how things don't work and won't be doing things. Couldn't care less. Tell us how it's done on a ball. Second attempt.
Yeah. Yeah, you establish a level line of sight to get a dip angle, and you can point the one lens of the sextant at the star and the other lens at the horizon, and the reading will give you the height of the sextant. Subtract the dip angle from the height of the sextant, that gives you an elevation angle.
Okay, so
Wow.
that proves a flat Earth. What you've done is detailed how it's done on a flat Earth.
Really? You think
Yes,
so?
really. At no point did you mention...
Come on, man.
At no point did you mention globe Earth, things falling away, curves, sphericity. You didn't mention any of it.
The ground is not your horizontal.
But telling me what it isn't for the second time, that didn't fly the first time. You haven't detailed how it works on a ball. You've detailed aspects of it that I can detail requiring a flat plane. At no point did you interject with ball. What you have done is interrupt me every single time the painful words come, that you haven't detailed any ball aspects in what you detailed. Then you've said it isn't something. No, you're being asked to detail what something is. That would be is working on a ball, and you haven't. Don't tell me what it isn't.
Complaining about how much I'm speaking when I'm literally like 5% of the airtime? Really, dude?
Well, that was a fantastic explanation of celestial navigation on a ball. No, my bad. It was you moaning about the format. With completely open air to explain how celestial navigation does work on a ball, as opposed to what it doesn't do, or what it can't do, or what we won't be doing. So, third attempt, rather than appealing to format, your open air, open mic time to detail how celestial navigation does work on a ball, go ahead. Third attempt.
Yeah, I explained the method that's used in celestial navigation, and that comports with the globe prediction.
That's not telling me how it works. That's telling me that you believe it works with a globe and it comports with it. Comporting with something isn't telling me how it works with it. Do you know what the word work means? Do you know what work means?
He said elevation angles.
I don't need help. Do you know what the word work means?
Hey, man, I would just be repeating myself, you know?
What, by answering my question about whether or not you understand what the word work means?
Of course, I know what work means.
Doing work means it has a functionality. So if it works with the globe, which you say it does, show me how it is functioning with the globe. Is it that difficult? So far, all you've done is told us things that require a flat plane. And then when you've asked us something about how our horizon will work, when you're specifically not detailing celestial navigation and sextants, according to you in that argument, you wouldn't concede after 14 attempts that you don't have a straight line of sight to anything ever. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, but no worries. We're at the start, no progress from the start line of you telling us how it works with a sphere. Fourth attempt. Go ahead.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Nathan. I just think it's funny. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll disengage because I just don't even know what to say to that.
You mean you don't know how it works?
I explained the method, right? The method has to do with a globe prediction.
Explain how the method goes with the prediction, because you didn't incorporate that into your explanation that required a flat plane and a horizontal baseline.
Flat Earth. Sorry.
Well, you didn't explain how you needed anything other than a flat Earth, and there's a detailed description of an angle of depression on screen right now. Those are triangles with flat baselines. Nothing you've detailed so far works with a sphere. Quite the contrary.
Okay.
So do you want your fourth attempt to tell us how it works with a sphere, as opposed to what it won't do and how it does comport?
That's the only way it works. The only way it works is if it's a sphere. That's why you get 1 degree every 69 nautical miles traveling south latitudes.
1 degree of what?
Yeah, 1 degree of the 1 degree every 69 miles.
What does that mean? Do you want to explain that?
69 nautical miles.
Do you want to talk me through that? Explain what that is and how it proves a ball? Go ahead.
Okay, if you travel south from the North Pole, you put Polaris at your zenith. As you travel every 69 nautical miles traveling south, the star is displaced 1 degree. It declines towards the horizon.
I see.
Right?
So 1 degree. So that would be two straight lines meeting at a vertex with a horizontal baseline measuring an angle to Polaris off a flat baseline and its declination towards the horizon of 1 degree with reference to a horizontal flat Earth for every 60 nautical miles you travel. Ergo, the 1 degree it drops towards the horizontal proves we're on a ball. No, it proves you're measuring the 1 degree of two straight lines meeting at a vertex, dropping as you move away from a star along a flat plane, because that is precisely what you've just detailed measuring. At no point did you measure a globe, you measured two straight lines. That would be angles, and how much those two straight lines, one is the flat Earth baseline, decreases as you move away from Polaris. So what you've just detailed is a flat Earth proof that you can measure the angle off a flat baseline of declination of Polaris as you move away from it on a flat baseline. That's a stone cold flat Earth proof that you have just detailed. You want to explain how you, in your right mind, think that measuring an angle off a flat baseline to a star as it moves towards the horizon as you move away from it is in any way inferring that we're on a curved surface when you wouldn't be getting an angle because it's two straight lines? If one of the lines, the base, the ground, was curved, you wouldn't be getting an angle to measure this declination. You need a flat Earth to measure this declination. So, do you want to explain how that was proving a ball when it proved a flat Earth measurement? Go ahead.
Nobody uses the ground as a horizontal in source gravity.
You just measured an angle with the flat baseline, you stupid clown. How dare you tell me that nobody does it when your example included it? You just told me that the angle declines as you move away from it. Do you not understand that an angle is two straight lines? You haven't got one curved line moving away from you and one line up to the star. Coincidentally, it's on screen for my audience. It's an angle off a flat Earth that you've just described. You mean nobody measures it off a flat? You just measured it off a flat plane. Hello? You just gave me an example with angles. That's two straight lines. Has he run away? What's going on?
I think he left.
So the moment he's proving a flat Earth with an angle measurement off a flat baseline and how a declination in that angle, both off a flat baseline, proves we're on a flat Earth after stating explicitly that it'll be proving a sphere because of the 1 degree every 69 miles or whatever he claimed it as, Suddenly that's proving a flat Earth and he runs away? Total fail. Yeah, he's just proved a flat Earth multiple times. Well done. Now, Arwin, go ahead. You've got the mic.
And
Arwin, nobody else.
Presuppositional technique, he would never be able to explore the oceans with that. Only land. That's it.
Hey, look, guys. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Literally just heard that again.
Yeah, but
He was describing the circle of equal altitude around Polaris with 1 degree, 306 degrees on the circle of equal altitude. That's what he's describing. He's describing a flat plane.
Yeah, he's describing a flat plane. The audacity to say nobody does a flat Earth measurement with an angle. Like, you just did. But they'll deny their own bloody measurement the moment it's proving a flat Earth, won't they?
Nobody uses the ground as a horizontal. That was hilarious.
The best bit was his honesty when it came to, yeah, it is a little bit painful. You're like, yeah, damn right it is.
He shared his pain.
And I just point out as well that when he made the claim that when you travel 60 nautical miles, the star will decline by 1 degree. That isn't even true anyway. It's evidently incorrect. Mick West proved it because he showed that all of the stars appear to slow down the further towards the horizon they get. So that means you have to travel more than 60 nautical miles to maintain that ratio on which he claims proves a globe Earth, because it has to be a linear function on a globe. Well, it's not linear if you're getting further and further and further away with greater and greater distances to preserve that 1 degree. That was Sean Hawkins' Polaris challenge, wasn't it?
And Anthony, just to keep this little tit for tat going, what would be their apologetics for why that would be the case?
Oh, refraction, Nathan. Refraction, of course.
You mean the always, in effect, never going to give you a straight line of sight ever refraction that the guy couldn't concede 14 times? That refraction?
Yeah, the 7/6 curvy line refraction that he's using to measure an angle with. That one, Nathan?
I didn't hear a screaming child running.
I said the 7/6 R curvy straight line refraction. That refraction, Nathan?
Yeah, the one that'll never give you a straight line of sight to anything ever, under any circumstances, that have barked at us for 3 straight years, until it's proving a flat plane, and then 14 concessions later, oh no, my bad, 14 complete ignorances of the point that they've barked at us for 3 years. Yeah, big problem, eh now, lads? Is the penny finally starting to drop? That refraction probably wasn't your best line of attack in respect to the Black Swan? That saying refraction actually ends your argument? That you might find yourself with it being repeated back at you 14 times and you can't believe your ears that you haven't got a straight line anymore? Yeah, shocking, isn't it?
I find it amazing that when they need to rely on refraction to bring back boats and buildings, that very same argument using refraction, they ignore it completely when they need to measure angles. I remember early on in like 2015, how does a sextant work on a flat Earth? And at the time, I didn't really consider it either way because I just thought, I don't know, do I need to know that? Is it important? Isn't it funny that when it comes to it, measuring angles is really important for a sextant and those lines have got to be straight, but they just ignore that refraction argument when it suits and they don't have any problem ignoring that hypocrisy, that double standards, that it drives me nuts.
I think it's only reasonable that the guy who came earlier and couldn't concede that for 14 attempts, it's only reasonable to say that realistically his non-return will be based on the fact that he got muted all 14 times.
Yeah, that's called pleading the victim card when you're getting dicked.
No, there was 14 times where he was stopped from giving a really concise rebuttal about how the always, in effect, sphere-shaped air to never, ever have a straight line to anything will mean he's got a perfect justification asking us about the straight lines and differentials that require a flat Earth. You see, the fact that we figured out all roads lead to a flat Earth means that no matter which argument they come here with, they're going to find themselves conceding that they'll need a flat Earth for it.
Like I said,
that was real. Go on, Anthony.
Playing the victim card when he's getting dicked. Because if Nathan wasn't dicking him, he would be able to argue whatever point he wants to make. But because he's losing, he has to then play the victim card to distract away from the fact that he hasn't answered the question or that he's got something wrong or he hasn't got any supporting evidence or he's applying a fallacy. That's what they do. It's distraction tactics all the time.
It was interesting how he was.
He got muted.
It's interesting. He was addressing line of sight. And then I liked it when Nathan held him to the plumb bob because he was using a plumb bob. And he says, is a plumb bob a line of sight? I mean, they have to go through every nook and cranny to try to change it. He was also saying perpendicular, and he was using a bubble sextant when he wasn't even talking about using the horizon. And then when we brought it back to the Mariner sextant, which uses the horizon, he didn't want to admit that if there was a guy on the seashore, not on the water, but on the seashore, let's say 6 foot tall standing guy, and he had a Mariner sextant. And right next to him was a guy with a bubble sextant on land. After the Mariner sextant and all the corrections for that, and the bubble sextant, which is void of dip, height of eye correction, you don't do that, just the refraction only, they would both have the same outcome. It would be the same. So his whole point is you don't need a horizon to establish level. I say, yes, thank you for admitting that when you do the horizon and do the proper corrections, you're establishing level with the Mariner sextant because it must match the same findings of the bubble sextant, which negates dip correction because you already have the horizontal. Yeah, I mean, it's right there.
Quick shout out to Uncle Ben, who sends me $10 and just says thank you. Thank you very much for the super chat. Sorry, lads.
His gotcha moment, his ace wild card was that I'm not using level to establish my angle. I'm using horizontal, and I'm gaining that from measuring it from a plumb bob. 90 degrees from plumb gives me a horizontal, and then I'm using it from there. So I'm not using the shape of the Earth, and then he was doing that because when Nathan says, "Yeah, but we haven't got no Atmo day," that rebuts his claim. So it was to distract away from that argument that he didn't want to address, that he claims the victim card. They always do it.
No, I know. It was brilliant on Nathan's part to keep him on the no Atmo day because refraction is their worst enemy and they think it's their ally.
Yes, I like the no Atmo day thing because when I used to read that in the comments, it used to really annoy me because I used to think, you're telling me this, not realizing that you've undone your own argument by saying it. So then you start to explain to them in the comments, no, by saying you're no Atmo day, you can no longer acquire a tangent. You've got no straight lines to anything. So far over the head of some numpty dipshit that's just saying no Atmo day, or whatever they're saying to us. What is it? No Atmo day was the response, right? That they all started parroting. What is it? No Atmo day? Obviously there's atmosphere. Look at the cranes, bendy cranes. Yeah, we're talking about the horizon. The argument's about the horizon. It's a geometric claim, and I'm going to get rumpused in the middle of this while they ask me about no Atmo and whether or not we've got it. They're asking me, the flat earther, do I deny the sphere-shaped air that bends everything always? What are you, stupid, flat earther? Oh, right, okay, so I must accept that there's always sphere-shaped air. Okay, right. 3 years later, when you've got a straight line to something, you haven't. What do you mean I haven't? You told us for 3 years you haven't. You told us. What do you mean I haven't? Well, I'm just establishing straight. You haven't got a straight, ever, on a ball. You told us. 3 years. Are you nuts? Very infuriating, initially, when they said no Atmo day. Now, I say it to them. What is it? No Atmo day? Are you nuts? Did you forget about your rebuttal to the Black Swan? It is essentially annihilated your globe claim the moment you said it. It's taken 3 years for you to get that. Now, hopefully, that 14 renditions of the exact same point that he hasn't got a bloody straight line to anything ever will start to sink in with the idiots that face us on the ball side. Go ahead, whoever that was that I cut off with that little repetition of a rant I've already said.
Stephen Davis
measure the geometric horizon.
Stephen Davis asks, Nathan, did you catch Jaren's response about his retraction? I'd like to know the answer to that too. What has Jaren said, and did you catch it?
No, I've got no interest in watching anything. I don't watch Jaren, and I've got no interest in finding out. What I want in terms of a retraction is secondary to him accepting that science proves, so he can move forward in his debating tactics, so he doesn't lose to people like Toon when they hoodwink him with science. Once I have established with Jaren that science does prove, that's why it gets used, that's why they use the words, the concession is a fait accompli. It's immediately inferred, isn't it? No?
Well, then you're gonna like today's video. Then
Hold on, I'm just talking to Anthony. We will get to the video shortly, but me saying I want a concession in my outrage at being called a scammer is secondary. It's second fiddle, right? With throwing the baby out of the bathwater, look at your namesake currently in this hangout, Anthony. That's devastating to the position that flat earthers can win with. That's it. That's the main priority. The moment he understands that, if his claim is Nathan's a scammer because he says science proves, the moment he accepts that science does prove that's why it's worth hijacking, to claim you've got proof when you haven't, then automatically that's a concession, a retraction. It's all those things bundled in one, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember when we were talking about FE Core and we were talking about one particular topic, and I said something along the lines of, let's call, I think they were talking about renaming themselves or rebranding themselves, and I said, let's use the word science in our name because anything with the word science in it sounds professional. Oh, how true those words were back then, because like it's literally the use of that word now that we're criticizing certain people for hijacking.
Yeah, the only reason to hijack it is because of proof, right? And throwing the baby out of the bathwater leaves you with a dull blade to fight when people claim science. And we watch Jaron in his debates, and when we've critiqued them, specifically McToon, he's fighting with a dull blade. And it's not good. It's not a good position to be in. Now, it may be that he wants to defend Dave Weiss, because Dave Weiss is out on the circuit using the same magic trick the ballers have used on us to convince us we're on a ball, when he says you can prove that scientifically. It's a great little magic trick that's very, very good at convincing people. So he's picked up that tool off the battlefield and gone, they just claim everything's got science. And people believe them and nod along because they've been trained to believe that that means proof. Now, our standards are higher than that. We want to demonstrate to the general audience that the reason you're being told there's scientific proof of whatever's being claimed by whatever charlatan's claiming it is because science does actually prove if you've adhered to the method. Once you know that and know how it proves with the method and what it's proved with the method, you then appreciate this is useful linguistically to trick people into thinking I've proved that the stars are a million miles away, or that there's a molten iron core in the center of a sphere that we're standing on because science says so. Well, that means proof to your average layman because that's what you were trained at school. And you could only be trained it was proof because it is proof when it's actually applied. So I want the win for Flat Earth. I want Jaron to win with the arguments. I want Dave to stop being a charlatan and claiming he's got scientific proof of this and that when he hasn't, because it makes us all look like frauds.
Do you guys miss the days of when we used to get told the body of science proves the globe? The body of science.
The whole body of science. I look
the
back,
whole body of science.
That's the reason why Rumpus for me is like one of my favorite anti-flat earthers. Not that he should have a favorite, but he's the one that I like the most, because I remember one day that when Nathan pointed out that there is no such thing as a whole body of science. It doesn't have opinions. It doesn't do this. It doesn't do that. It's just a method. And Rumpus was about to say something right afterwards that involved the phrase "the whole body of science," and I said, "You were going to say that then, weren't you?" It's no. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, the day it seemed like like when they made that switch, when he used to say body of science all the time, and then one time he did say he tried to say, oh, science doesn't prove. And I said, wait a minute, Rumpus, you are the guy. The whole body of science proves this and that and everything. Globe-like. Yeah. How can you say that science doesn't prove? It was one of the first times I heard Rumpus just fall all over himself. Like, I didn't really,
It's the same when it's the same when like other blurfs will say 7/6 refraction. It works close enough, bit more refraction to calculate for it or whatever. But then when you point out that you need like a straight line to measure an angle using a sextant, and they flip immediately to say, oh, well, the line of sight is always straight, and they have no problem like completely ignoring the fact that they just contradict themselves. I don't know how they do that without being brainwashed, but they all do that.
He sounded so surprised when Nathan told him, to you, the line of sight is bent. And he was like, the line of sight is bent. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know how many times we've been told that in the past 3 years?
Yeah,
it's outrageous, isn't it?
Just want to cover a couple of things from the comment section, specifically, which is sad to see. Okay, Stephen Davies says, Jaron also called Witsit out for saying ether wasn't science. Okay, very disappointing. Majoring on the minors and then having an internal spat over that means that it sounds like Globebusters is imploding, and just stand well back. That's all I can say at this point. I want to wait until that little implosion's over, and whatever remnants is left, I'll go in with whoever's influential and educate them on what science is and how it's being used to convince you are on a ball by saying the word science when there's no proof of what's being claimed, with the remnants in 6 months. But in the meantime, it sounds like it's imploding over on Globebusters. Whatever.
Wait.
Fine. Just one more thing. RJC says, where's the science for a stationary Earth? Okay. Way to demonstrate that you don't understand what science is without saying you don't understand what science is. Because science deals with cause and effect relationships. So natural science, that's the study of the physical and natural world, is what we are dealing with here on Flat Earth Debate. Now that is exclusively the singular scientific method. That is exclusively illuminating the cause of naturally occurring phenomena. So when you say, what's the science for stationary Earth? Okay, you're so used to being told that you can prove concrete nouns with science that you expect us to adhere to that non-standard. It's not a cause and effect relationship that you're asking about. So when you say flat Earth, that's not something happening. That's not an occurrence. That's not a phenomenon. You're not going to get an IV-DV relationship out of that. So it's absurd to ask us for the science of flat Earth. No, you can ask for the measurements of flat Earth, the geometry of flat Earth, the practical application of flat Earth. You can ask for all those things, and we can provide them. But asking for the science of a concrete noun demonstrates you don't understand what science is. It's elucidating the cause of an effect, and the effect is exclusively natural. Only natural. Shout out to Michael Kahn.
It's also
Implode Busters. Love it. That's not funny. I don't want to see Globebusters implode. I want to see them influence the masses with good arguments and win. Not implode. It's sad. When I said it's sad, that's what I mean, Michael. While I'm not currently watching Globebusters, in 6 months' time, to yearn for the days when I was eager on a Sunday night to watch Globebusters, where I want to give Jaron the money that he charges for the closed show behind a paywall, because I really, really want to watch him hammer whoever's on as a guest, as a flat earther. I want to watch Witsit destroy the opponent with his intellect and sharp wit and fast tongue. I want to watch him win. I want a desire to watch Globebusters. I don't want to watch it implode. Now, obviously, negative, back to this crap. I'm being called a scammer. Got to deal with that first. But I'll put that to one side. All will be forgiven, providing that they can move forward with the understanding that science is only being hijacked in terminology because it's been demonstrated useful by way of proving things, because that's all it can do. The methodology in the hypothesis only allows for a positive proof-based outcome in every single instance. So once you understand that it can only provide proof, you're like, oh, so this science thing, whatever that is, the outcome's always proof. Really? So if I say that there's this other method, forget science, that's called Schlurples, and the method of Schlurples, whatever it is, it don't matter, always, without exception, provides proof. You go, oh, really? And everyone understands that Schlurples always provides proof. And everyone nods. Yeah, if you've got Schlurples, you've got proof. Okay. So, if I haven't got proof for something, but I say Schlurples, will you nod? If I say I can prove the grass is purple, I've got the Schlurples for it, you'll go, oh, you got the Schlurples? Well, I'll totally agree. Definitely purple grass. Because you've got the Schlurples. Well, Schlurples is just science. It's just a word that provides a magic shortcut to people believing you. Why? Because it proves things. Not necessarily mean you've actually followed the method that would give you that proof. You have to understand what the method is and how it proves things in order to combat that garbage.
Well,
Go ahead.
well,
I wish
I'm
it
sorry.
wasn't.
Go ahead, Eli.
I wish it wasn't. I wish it didn't appear deeper to me than it might actually be. I don't know if anybody watches. Probably Alexandria. Shout out to her. Um, she's well, one of her videos she talks about cosmology, biblical cosmology. So you know, she's a flat earther, but also she talked about evolution in her latest video and how it's science falsely so called. And when you look at all the big players that she calls out in that video, it just it just it just brings me back to biblical times when Paul is warning Timothy to be careful and be wary of those that are going to come around and try to falsely assert things, falsely state things uh, as facts when they aren't, regardless of whether they have. I mean, it's insane. Like, to know that people have been doing this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's like, here we are living in this time where there are people in our time doing the exact same thing, but we just feel like we're removed from the people of the past when we're just when history is repeating itself.
Yeah, it's a shell game.
And from that,
people like
from
Dave
that
Weiss have spotted the shell
standpoint,
game, haven't they? They've spotted that there's a shell game going on, and they've pointed out the shell game, and pointed out the shills, and danced up and down and shouted about it. And the moment they've tried to clear out everybody from the shell game, or more likely, gather the crowds up and take them over to a different part of town, where they've opened up their own shell game. And you're like, what? What's going on? So the new shell game is you telling everybody how you've got science to prove a flat Earth. Well, number one, there's far better ways of proving Earth is flat, showing that it's flat, using practical applications of it being flat, rather than saying you've got science for it. I mean, that, to me, just strikes me as the same charlatan shortcut. Well, when there's no shortcut needed. But in the meantime, it does actually make us look like frauds. Because it is fraud to say that you've got science if you haven't applied the scientific method. It's the same fraud we're all just coming out the other side of, which is why it's so much more of an outrage. When it's our own side doing it, that is. Shout out to D-Rose. He says, I want is that $1,000 million? Is that a billion? To wake up. Or so wake up. No, it's just the zeros. Okay, I'll just start that again. And I want $1 billion and 0 cents. Wake up, Nathan. Okay, D, thanks. I didn't understand that at all. I also want a million. Join the club,
Oh
I
my
guess.
God, Nathan, if you'd have read the super chat soon, I was saying, you saying, I don't want them to implode. I want them to disseminate good information, and that was my response.
And I want $1 million.
Because they're not going to do that. They've never done it.
I'm a fairly humble guy, right? So long as my stereo's working and I can monitor the show, right, and my left ear's working and I can hear what you're all saying, I'm generally quite content. While I might occasionally say I want a Lamborghini, yeah, that would be lovely. I don't need a Lamborghini. I'd like a reliable car, as opposed to my wife's 25-year-old crap box that's falling apart and warning lights constantly coming on. That would be nice. So being slightly more comfortable than I am. Do I want millions for telling people that the Earth's flat? No. Do I expect millions from it? No. Right? Far from it. I accept that I'm going to probably face poverty for the rest of my life on YouTube. Okay. Smash the super chat if you don't want to see that happen. Great. People supporting me financially is far more rewarding than just having a big channel that generated YouTube ad revenue. You know, the community support's much more valuable, much more rewarding. Yeah, scrape by on the actual amount of it, but that doesn't matter, right? So, no, I don't think converting Jaren to understanding how science proves, therefore it would be a useful trick to tell people that you've got proof when you haven't by using those words, won't benefit anybody financially. I doubt anybody will become rich off that. I mean, it might be less detrimental to not be called a scammer by Jaren, who's bigger than I am, let's be honest. But What it will do is show audiences that the arguments that we have, when everybody out there who's a normie will encounter somebody who says, well, the science that proves we're on a globe, they'll hear it daily if they were arguing this daily. Well, that's something that we've all got to combat. We might be knee deep in it after 5, 6, 7, 8 years of it, for me. But, or Jaron in the same instance. He's been doing it at the same time as I have, probably slightly longer. I think he was out doing it about a year before I was. Well, being so thick into it doesn't mean that out on the street for your general normie, that they think that science proves we're on a ball. And we'll still parrot off the sentiment of Rumpus, as detailed by Anthony earlier, that the whole body of science proves we're on a ball. Because everybody's reified it into something that men can just tell you, and therefore it's proven. And then if you think that it could be wrong or find out that it is wrong, you look it up on Wiki and it says, oh no, science doesn't prove anything. And you start scratching your head. And if you've got half a brain and can remember 5th grade science, you remember how they disseminated how it proved things with the empirical methodology and the hypothesis construction stage with the empirical logic attached. So then they've got the audacity to tell you when they've been proven wrong or caught out, oh, actually, the science we're talking about doesn't prove anything. No, the science you're talking about was inferred to be proving exactly what you said at the time, has been shown to be wrong, and is now being decried when in reality it was never science to begin with. It was never the methodology-based proof that they'd implied. That's why they implied it, because they hadn't got proof.
Didn't Chocolate have something to say about 10 minutes ago?
Probably. I'm on my high horse about science.
What? Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I wanted to clear up in my head what Nathan said, that comment had mentioned, that it was Jaron that is now calling out Witsit on ether not being science. Is that what happened?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's an absolute fact that I got from the comments about 5 minutes ago.
Okay. When even Witsit will say that it's not science, and Jaron has said that his argument was never ether. Huh.
Wait a minute. Wait a
Nathan, wait a minute. Time out. You said that Jaron wasn't even a proponent for ether. What the heck is going on here?
I don't know. Michael Khan from the Super Chat says, 4 more hours, please.
You see my confusion, right? It's like, wait a minute. Did he specifically say that? When has ether been my argument? I've never argued ether. Right?
This is.
And then I showed when he did.
Have you got those clips?
Oh man.
I will stay live if you can dig them out. If it's going to take you 20 minutes, then I won't, obviously.
Oh, I got those clips.
Nathan, you just read that from someone in chat. We haven't actually heard the audio clip, correct?
I did say that. I said that's why it's an absolute fact that's been absolutely verified 100% because it came from the chat live. And he was a member. I mean, that automatically makes it 100% valid, does it not? He's a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. How much more credibility do you need? Shout out to
Well, it's just a probabilistic belief.
Probabilistic, you say?
Yes, but the probabilistic belief that all you have is probabilistic beliefs.
Yeah, I found them. Hold up. Where do you want them?
You want me to play him? You stick him in Master B if you want me to play him. I'll shout out D-Rose in the meantime. So shout out to D-Rose says, oh my God, my previous super chat is saying, as much as wanting them to disseminate truth and science is fantastical, want because that'll never happen. I don't know. I don't know that's the case. My attempt to get people to pressure Dave into coming here to be educated into science because of his double speak being caught out and basically with Witsit here as his representative saying, yeah, I wouldn't call that science, end quote. It puts pressure on Dave to learn the arguments when the audience will say, hang on a minute, someone who's come and said that they represent you makes it absolutely explicitly clear on this show that they know what you're saying is science isn't what's going on. That'll be the general, demeanor of the public, I would expect, unless they're just like, I like being lied to. You know what I mean? I like fraud. Who's saying that? Shout out to JMels24. Michael Kahn appears to be a highly intelligent man, a man of leisure, a gentleman. 4 more hours. We'll see. Right, okay, let's do some clips. So this is, thank you very much for providing these, from Quantum Eraser.
So to me, it seems like that's where we're at with this ether idea, is to just dismiss things and make fun of people, I think is a bad position to take, because you don't know. You don't know. So 1/40th of 66,000 miles per hour is about 1,500 miles per hour. So what they were actually picking up is the ether. So for me, the ether is something that I don't think we completely understand. And so as far as it not being science, that might be true. But I think that that's what they measured with Michelson Morley. I think that that's kind of ironed out. And that's the reason that they had to, get relativity going, because they realized the implications of what that test was showing.
There you go.
So, yeah, making Jaron a liar. So it is a little preamble to me personally. I sat in front of him or sat across from him, however you want to describe it, intellect-wise. And he's telling me I don't ever speak about ether. Total lie.
Well, hang on. Did you miss the better part of that? He said part of science that might be true. I thought science doesn't prove anything.
When it's proving ether for Jaron, who never speaks about ether ever, then it's fine to be proving things with science and ether.
Listen, those were two that I just superficially got. I mean, if I went digging, look out.
Wait. In that clip you just played, didn't he say, as far as ether not being science, that's probably true?
Play it again, please.
When we're asking about the comment that was made that he's calling out Witsit because Witsit is saying that it's not actually science.
So to me, it seems like that's where we're at with this ether idea, is to just dismiss things and make fun of people, I think is a bad position to take, because you don't know. You don't know. So 1/40th of 66,000 miles per hour is about 1,500 miles per hour. So what they were actually picking up is the ether. So for me, the ether is something that I don't think we completely understand. And so as far as it not being science, that might be true. But I think that that's what they measured with Michelson Morley. I think that that's kind of ironed out. And that's the reason that they had to, get relativity going, because they realized the implications of what that test was showing.
In fact, the whole world's an alley after you watch this.
What video is this?
I don't think we can watch it because he can't play it. I won't be able to see it until he reruns it.
Yeah, he needs to. Well, you can watch it because you could play on it on your own time, but he needs to review it, and it's, oh my gosh, it's so good.
You put it in Skype?
Master B.
What are we looking at?
Master B, the video for today, epic, and it'll be an all-time top 5 review.
Today's video at Nathan, Beyond the Big Bang, from Bjorn Eckenberg. Ekberg. Okay. We'll do it tomorrow. No worries.
Yeah,
you said we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess so.
What?
Okay.
What do you reckon I can use for a thumbnail for that guy that was on earlier? What can I have as the background?
Put his head on a plumb bob.
I haven't got his head. Plumb bob.
Well,
Plumb
put
bob.
somebody's head.
Okay, plumb bob.
It was like, this is a little scary.
He was convoluting his own argument. He was jumping from one discipline to another discipline and trying to confuse everybody. Line of sight when he's hanging a plumb bob. Well, no, you don't have a line of sight to the.
That's the black swan still taking heads off. After 3 years, still still allowing them to take their own heads off. It's beautiful. That kind of sucks, guys, huh? The guys who told us, why would you expect there to be a geometric horizon? We've got an atmosphere.
Yeah, and
Why
all
would
lines
you
are
expect
bent.
that, you stupid flat earther? All the lines are bent. That's why that horizon's back there where it's not supposed to be. Why would you expect it any other way?
Was that the guy that said, why does the horizon not rise to eye level if Earth is flat?
Yes.
Did he understand that the horizon is where sea level or surface level appears to meet the sky?
No, he just launched into a load of flat Earth utilizations of level and straight lines in atmosphere.
We need to be a little bit more specific when we say that, though. We can't say it's the pit, because that would be on a no atmo day. You can't always see to the point where it rises to eye level because the visibility is not always good enough. Sometimes you can only see a few miles because it's quite misty or foggy, and the horizon then is much lower than what it would normally be because bad weather conditions don't allow you to see that far. So it is the point where the sky and the sea appear to meet, but it's also subject to visibility on the day because some days it's very low because visibility is bad.
Why
But eye level assumes.
Why is it rising up anyway?
That's what yeah. I mean, well, that's true.
Yeah.
But
Shouldn't
like
it be falling away?
eye level.
If it's on a ball, shouldn't it fall away?
Yes.
Yeah.
You would
That's
think.
just perspective,
One of the
Nathan. You don't
first
understand perspective.
That was one of the first examples I saw was from my perspective, Rory Cooper, and he showed on CAD what would happen if we were actually on a ball and rose up, and it would fall away exactly as they describe in the maths, but just is not observed in reality.
Yeah, why does it rise up? You don't have to be on anything. Just go out to the beach. Why does it rise up near eye level? That's the question. Now, it does rise.
You're looking at the
when you
surface
raise
level.
Also,
looking at the flat surface level extending out from your position. So it's going to rise up because you're seeing an extended plane.
I'm talking about for the ball tarts.
It wouldn't. It can't. It shouldn't. It wouldn't.
Right.
But that's the pain, though, right? That they have to explain how that's happening while the exact opposite is supposed to be happening. The exact opposite that they say is happening all the time when boats go over the curve.
Nathan, I put
unfortunate.
two slides to Master B. One's a GIF of the sextant being rocked to establish perpendicular of the star. Can you go there?
Yeah. What's the name of the guy that was on today?
Hira.
Callie.
Callie.
Oh, Callie. That's right. Yeah.
K-A-L-I.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got it up 10th.
Yeah, the American Practical Navigator, chapter 16. Wiki's quoting it. Now, when you calibrate the instrument, the mirrors have to be perpendicular to the frame. And, there's a bunch of things you do just to make sure the sextant is measuring an angle correctly. So this is what he's going to cover it first. But then the last part is what I want to focus on. It is mounted on the frame perpendicular to the plane of the sextant, meaning the frame itself. The index mirror and horizon glass are mounted so that their surfaces are parallel when the micrometer drum is set at 0. The instrument is in perfect adjustment. Okay, so important, it's calibrated. Now, listen to this. As with the sun and moon, however, rock the sextant to establish what? What's that word? Anybody? I've said it a few times.
Level.
Perpendicularity. Perpendicular. You can't have that on a globe.
Where is the word?
Well, that's an old song. I kind of like that song. I go to the GIF and just let it play.
I used to play that back in the day when it first started.
Not a GIF anymore. It's just a still, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll send you the link and you can play it from the link directly. But it brings the sun down and it rocks it until it's perpendicular to the horizon. And that's when the navigator says mark and starts with the seconds first, then minutes, all the way back so that he can have the correct altitude when he goes to the nautical almanac. And all the corrections, height of eye dip as well as refraction, regular refraction, is to make sure it's the proper correct altitude above the horizon. So it could be an acute angle within a right angle. It can never be obtuse. And it's obtuse when you're 10 feet above the water line. That's why you bring your eyeball down to the water line. It shares the same common baseline.
So we have a respawning of Ackham virus's old argument about the line of sight.
Yeah, I suppose you could call
Well,
it that.
can we agree?
Yeah.
That's.
Go ahead.
I'm just
That's
agreeing
what
with you.
popped up in my head. Sorry.
Can we agree that the line of sight is always straight but bent?
Always straight and bent. Yes, we can agree that
That
it's
checks
always
out.
bent and straight. Yes. Yes, we can agree. So we can move on as a ball earth believer in cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, that's
It was virus who popped up in my head when after you told the guy that for him the line of sight's always bent.
Yeah,
it was virus.
That's who I was referencing when I was saying that, like, they have no problem switching between the two positions when they need a curved line to bring back boats and buildings. 7/6R is fine, but then when you need a straight line for measuring sextants, they have no problem switching. Like ignoring the hypocrisy and the double standards. That you then apply a straight line straight away, and they don't. No shit's a given. They
Not
don't.
here, you
That's
don't.
who I was thinking.
Not here. Here you have 14 renditions of me getting you to go, what do you mean my lines of sight are never bent or always straight? I understand.
I think I got that clip. 1 second.
Okay.
But isn't that exactly why QE framed it that way? So
Yes.
they would say that about refraction and they don't even get the trap?
Yeah. So QE's phraseology in that respect is the reason I can hold that guy today to task 14 times. Because how's he going to deny that he personally will have said at some stage, given his knowledge of the argument, of course it's always bent. Look at the cranes.
There you go. Master B.
Anthony, you're causing
I
feedback,
think
by
he
the way.
said that. I think he said that stuff just so he didn't have to acknowledge level, though. Like he would say anything after saying level was horizontal, but not horizontal. He was just desperate to get away from level.
Yep. They all are. They all need a flat earth at some point in their claims. So the moment you point that out, they want to get away from that claim. Painful to be a baller. Cognitively speaking, I am not joking when I say that they have sleepless nights. That is not a joke. They will.
Well, some flat earthers that
Play the clip for the points lost.
This Akumo virus, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Gem Pandas, and they were educating me from Andrew Thomas Young's paper. They're saying, yeah, those light rays, they're curving to your eyeball, right?
Yeah, but buddy.
they are.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, they are?
Line of sight is never bent.
You haven't got a straight line of sight on a globe. It's all bent.
Those light rays, they're curving to your eyeball.
Yeah, buddy.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Line of sight is never bent.
They're curving to your eyeball.
Yeah, buddy.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Line of sight is never bent.
Calling all cars. We have
Numpty dipshit.
There you go. Yeah.
I'll keep playing it.
assist.
There you
All
go.
cars, please assist.
So why don't you walk me through this?
What you want me to do this?
Huh?
What you get me do this? Prove a flat Earth? Huh? What you get me do this?
Done.
What you get me do this? Proving a flat Earth? Huh? What you get me do this? Proving a flat Earth?
That is how you sound, Virus. That is.
What you get me do this? Proving a flat Earth?
Damn, walk me through this.
Damn, bro! You got me proving a flat Earth, bro! What you get me do this, bro?
I love that
never
show.
gets
That
old,
was a great
man.
show.
That never gets old. And when chocolate comes in, that is how you sound.
But it's how the guy sounded today. What do you mean it's not? He went all high pitched when he was exasperated, if that's the right word. He's frustrated at his own failings because he can't use a straight line and he knows damn well he can't. So he's like, what do you mean I have always got a bent line that I've spent 3 years telling you malfunction? Sad though, isn't it?
Then he really didn't say anything. It
thought you
was
were gonna go
his
into that.
argument. His argument was really just it just works because we're on a globe. that was it.
I'll tell you something. Everyone else always gets to this point before I do, so I'm going to get to it on this one. There's normally QE that says something like along these lines. They don't know how celestial navigation works. Now, that is pretty much true for our own side for the most part. Bev, hate to say it, typically is not saying that he's a flat earther, but he is. He's on our side, whether we like it or not. Like Jaron's on our side, whether we like it or not, right? Mate.
No, I don't think so. I think that Bev.
Thank you, Anthony.
Bev's argument is that mountains and valleys prove that it's not flat. Well, no one disputes that, and that's misrepresenting the claim that we say. And because we accept that mountains and valleys are not flat, we actually say, well, standing water does not curve. So we all accept relief, but Bev's misrepresenting what is actually said. I'm not sure that.
I've got a really
I'm not sure that
concise
you
summary for this, Anthony. I'm sorry, John. I'm just going to steal it straight from you. Right, he's conflating the topology with the baseline.
He's also conflating the words flat with the word smooth, because he thinks that there are no mountains and valleys on flat Earth, because he thinks that flat and smooth are they're synonymous.
Hit him with the wall, chocolate.
No one thinks that.
What does that mean? Hit him with the wall.
It's a long story.
I hate in jokes. Anyway, so
you're the king of in jokes. What are you talking about?
I'm not king of in jokes. Anyway, so the point is with Bev or any of the other flat Earth denier, if you want to call Bev that, what would you call him then? Not that this matters. Majoring on the minors, really.
He's renegade, isn't he?
Renegade. He'd love that title.
Contrarian.
Contrarian.
He would be an
Forget about Bev. What about his little cohorts? Like SC Montreal.
He doesn't even need a label. We don't have to give him a label. We can just say he's wrong, because no one thinks that mountains and valleys negate flat Earth.
Ahead, Broto.
Yeah, but how do you measure those mountains and valleys? What would you measure them against to give them a height?
Flat baseline.
We don't need to quantify. We just need to point out the quality of the statement that mountains and valleys do exist. No one denies them, and we don't think that flat means smooth. That's it.
I like Nathan's example with a bookshelf. To me, that makes a lot of sense.
You mean a whiteboard? That was not my example. That was Bev's example.
Whose?
Bev's. I stole it from Bev and parroted it back at him. Why do you think it was so effective?
I should have figured you didn't come up with nothing.
Yeah, I didn't come up with it. Bev came up with it. I just parroted it back in the right circumstances, leaving him stuttering and stammering over his own bloody example that he couldn't then concede. Because what's he going to do? Concede his own example to have me play it back to back with him claiming that when you lay a whiteboard flat and run your hands over it, the microscopic undulations don't change that it's flat. That's his example. So what's he going to do? Deny it? Once he conceded
That's
it,
what I'm talking about.
the conflation between the baseline and the topology was easy. I got the concise summary from John 20 minutes before he arrived, just by pure chance. He just happened to summarize it really concisely. So I'd got that. Once you've got a concise summary, there's more power to a concise summary than meets the eye. It's not just the ability to parrot it off verbatim as a punchline. Having a concise summary means you can cognitively wrap your head around the examples beyond the simplistic, concise summary. When you've only got the complexities of the example whirling around your head, you can't necessarily fight the battle more effectively. But the moment that John said he's conflating the topology with the baseline, bang, I was like, right, I can fight this argument all day long now. That's why having a concise summary, arguing about this stuff at nausea, so it gets more and more and more refined to the point where you've got a concise summary. And that concise summary isn't enough for somebody to pick it up and go out and fight with it, but it's enough for somebody who's been following along with the argument to fully understand it, to then take that then fully sharpened tool out to battle.
Well, you did that with the guy today.
Yeah, thanks to John. But it's because of us doing it so often and getting to the point where we're refining these arguments for the end concise summary that John gave, so I can bash that guy over the head. Or Bev in that instance.
If Bev is not a glober and he's not a flat earther, and he doesn't want to say the nature of the plane we live on is he just in love with math and geometry and Euclid? What is, I don't understand. You left scratching your head. What is it then?
I would appeal to his motivations on a societal level, but I'm purely speculating. I have no idea. Appealing to his motivations kind of pointless, but fun at the same time. So I just see him as a social cuck. It's not socially acceptable to be a flat earther and say the earth is flat. Now, figuring out that that's got two double-edged sword also, the words flat earth, because it's got ambiguity, he's then taken that ambiguity and made it his USP, his unique selling point. Well, fine, until you find yourself in a glaring contradiction or unable to answer about 2 points on a baseline, for example, then you just look stupid or end up saying that angles are useless or words to that effect. You just end up looking stupid. Well, is your unique selling point worth it for social cuckery? Because that's all it achieves. The ability to say, I'm not a flat earther. In fact, I challenge them and think they're stupid. What, for social acceptance? What's it getting you?
Let me ask a question. It's a genuine question. When he says that you can do fuck all with an angle, right? Let's just change it because I want someone to explain to me. I don't get it. You know, like when you make a cake, the constituent components of a cake is flour, eggs, milk, butter, whatever, right? When he says you can do fuck all with an angle, can you not just say the exact same thing for example, flour? But you can bake a cake with flour, right? So you can do something with flour.
I understand what you're saying. His argument is prefaced with the notion that elevation angles require a good timepiece, a almanac, a really good sextant. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you'll need. So he's saying you can do F-all with an angle in response to the other parts that you would need. In other words, if you just had an angle measuring device and nothing else out at sea, and you don't know where the GP of the star is, then what use is it? And he would be right. But he hasn't made that concise summary of his point. He's just wrapped it up in a stupid statement. You can do F-all with an angle. Okay. Contradicted by his statement that you know your latitude. Why? Well, it's just an angle. Just an angle completely contradicts his statement that you can do F-all with it. Because if it's just an angle and nothing else, which is Bev's statement also, then it completely eradicates the notion that you can do F-all with just an angle, because just an angle will give you your latitude, according to Bev. Again, just making him look stupid. Why? Well, because he wants to decry our argument on the, what, basis that you need an almanac. Great argument. What, because we know where the stars will be, because we've tracked them for as long as human history has existed. Oh, right. That's a great argument, Bev. Us knowing with the patterns of the stars so we know where they'll be above, and we're right, and it's accurate, and that's the basis of almost all navigation. But hold on, it's also the basis of GPS. But hold on, you can do F-all with an angle because they fight it over on Flat Earth Debate. That's the reality, Anthony.
in the past,
Hold on, let me say something.
hang on. Yeah, go on. Hurry up.
Go ahead.
No, go on. I'll go after.
That's why I don't. That's why I do not understand why you say they're on our team. They're on our side. They're not. When you go on somebody that's on your side, they treat you decently. Give you a cup of coffee, a piece of cake. I go over to Bev's, I get interrogated.
Bullshit.
Can we go over to
Oh,
Jaren's?
of course. So by that
and not get
standard,
interrogated?
so by
Come
that
on.
standard,
They're not on our side.
so by that standard, divorce, it doesn't exist.
Non sequitur.
Non sequitur. On my side, when in a contractual marriage with a woman, would be someone that you could say, she's not only supposed to be on my side, considered on my side, she's got the same surname as me. Couldn't be any more, short of being blood relations, right? So contractually, legally, socially, and every other aspect and eye of every other person that looks on you with your ring and your contract, they're on your side. Yet my standard was, well, then, if we can not consider them on our side, by contrast with my example of a marriage, then there'd be no divorce, would there? Because everybody, when they're on side, stays on side. No one ever falls out. No one has a difference of opinion. No one has a difference of attitude. No one starts scamming and using fraud to claim their proof with a shortcut. That wouldn't happen.
All right. So I wanted to stay on topic. They in the past called the almanac a magic book. So the way they look at the almanac is a problem. Now, when you go do a deep dive in celestial navigation before the modern day of it, you find that the Portuguese would see Polaris at port at a certain height above the horizon, and they say, okay, let's mark this, and then this is the way we find our way back home. So when they were at sea and there was no land, they would look at Polaris and they say, well, it's too high, so we're not on the same latitude, so let's go this way. And it would be dropping in the sky. Okay, this is it. Now let's go this way. And this was the beginning of how the stars help people navigate. So then they got everything in the book, 57 main stars, plus sun, moon, and some planets. And so it was after that that the almanac was giving everybody more than Polaris to go by. The sun, to just by its movements, high noon and so forth, where they got longitude with time, with a time beast. So for anyone to say it's a magic book is stupid, because it's obvious. Bev told me himself, you know, when you look at Polaris where you are, that establishes your latitude. That's not magic.
Well, isn't Bev's whole thing with you can do F all with an angle is like isolationist argument, like an angle in isolation from everything else, right?
Yes.
But we don't exist in that. So like when you're talking about the datum in isolation, the horizontal is just a point on that datum.
Yes, and if you state all that, yes, that's a true statement. But it's like somebody coming up to you with the brand new Ford Focus, and somebody saying you can do fuck all with metal. That's the level of the argument.
Right. It doesn't appreciate that. There's other things that are affected by that thing being the way it is.
But he literally said that the other day. You require other things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, nobody denies that, bro. Like, this is what I don't understand. Of course, you're not gonna just measure an angle and then just put your thing down for the day.
It's trick worked on you. You just said you're not just going to measure an angle. Well, you're not measuring, as Bev puts it in quotes, just an angle. It's a specific type of angle that has other prerequisites attached to it, right? It's got a title. But Bev wants to deny the existence of elevation angles and call them, to demean them and decry them and belittle them, just angles. And then say, further to his demeaning of an elevation angle to just an angle, that you can do F all with it. That's his whole shtick. It's garbage, but that's what he's doing.
But if he's going to measure an angle, right, and if that's the only thing that you can do with it, you can only measure an angle and you can do nothing else with it. Can you not take from the fact that you've measured an angle that A, you're using Euclidean geometry, B, you're applying two straight lines with a vertex, and C, you're the opposite, you're the antithesis of non-Euclidean geometry? Are they not logical like things that flow from the angle that you can rely on that goes beyond simply measuring an angle? Or am I missing the point?
No, he's got to deal with 90 degrees. He's got to deal with 90 degrees, which he must accept perpendicular. He even says perpendicular all the time. And then even with Nathan, he had to, it was like pulling teeth. He finally said, yeah, well, of course, a horizontal and the vertical make a perpendicular. All right, well, tell that to the Portuguese when they knew exactly where Polaris is before they took off so that they know how to get back home. And they didn't even have an almanac. It depends what you're referencing it to. Kitchens and homes are built with angles because they're referencing something for the angle to be used with. It's a dumb argument.
What's his point, though? What is he trying to make the points to prove what?
That he's a moron?
I was going to say, you're giving this too much of your mental capacity, Anthony. Right?
Exactly.
All this demonstrates is that Bev is incredibly stupid. That's all it shows.
And I'm incredibly ignorant. I don't understand the background to it. There's obviously a background to it. It's probably something that somebody said at some point and he doesn't like it for whatever reason.
It's probably the same as Jaren. He's out there disseminating his truth. And when he goes into a random forum, they're talking about gas pressure without a container and elevation angles, and it pisses him off.
There you go.
I think it's simpler, and it comes down to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I think it's simpler, and it comes down to logic, and it's not a large logical argument that he's trying to make. It's essentially that a line is an imaginary thing on its own. An angle is an imaginary thing on its own. It has correlations to the real world with what we do, but on its own, it's imaginary. And I think that you see that when you have like that Cali guy coming in earlier, because he's essentially saying, I don't need a flat baseline equated to the plane. I can imagine one. So like, I think that's where the critique comes from. Again, it's not logical, but I think that, I don't know.
I get your banter.
It's hard to convince somebody that isn't being logical.
Sure,
Like,
but it's the choice of standards. So I understand what you're saying, right, banter? You're saying, all right, but if I describe an elevation angle as the line of sight between the observer's plane of reference that they're standing on and the star that they're measuring in the vertical, right? What I've described could all be decried as just being conceptual within maths, even though you're physically taking a measurement of it, because the line between you and the star doesn't exist. You're just looking at the star through a mirror on a tool, right? Everything beyond that is your outward descriptions in maths of what you've actually done with lines that don't exist. Okay, I gotcha. But by the same token, if you're going to use that as, well, not you, but Bev in this example, is going to use that, you go, okay, so when you describe a Cartesian grid, it's all conceptual, okay? So when you reference height above sea level as a point on a datum's just conceptual. When you describe the changes in elevation with respect to that datum, it's meaningless, really. You know, you could take it to every single example he makes about anything ever and go, well, that makes your example meaningless then. In other words, by taking that standard against us, you undermine everything you say. Again, I'll just say it one more time, and I won't say it again. It just demonstrates how stupid it is. That's all it does. And giving it more thought than it requires is like, no. Try and dumb yourself down 2 or 3 pegs, then you'll understand it easier.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
Where were you with Dave McKeegan queued up?
He's talking about how he's rolling in at this time. Nice to see you, Brian.
Any other things?
It is nice to see Brian, but he's a friend, so he gets a ribbing. You don't understand it. You're not. Well, I was going to say
Brian is a friend.
He's not really British. Not really.
No, I'm not. What's that happening with Bev? What side that Anthony is referring to when you're referring to?
Oh, brother, we're gonna go through it all again.
Anthony thinks it's more complicated than it really is, and he's trying to wrap his head around it. That's the bottom line.
We summarize, Brian. He's a moron.
I've got to get out of that habit. He's a moron because he's contradicting his own position when he undermines it by saying, well, the line to the star is conceptual, or the angle's just conceptual, or, you know, in isolation you can do nothing with it. All those arguments undermine every argument he'll ever make about anything ever. So that's a big fat fail, but that's because he's incredibly stupid. There you go. I'm not just saying he's stupid, I'm giving the example of why.
Yeah, but does he not realize with a theodolite that the angle you measure is not, they're not like two physical lines coming out of the theodolite?
He doesn't realize
let me just paraphrase as though I was Bev. You can do fuck all with an angle. There you go. How's that?
Right. Well, and the datum argument he made, well, you could turn that the other way and say, well, all a datum is a point on a horizontal, you know? Like, it's just a point on a horizontal. That's all it is. Like,
yeah,
what's it got to say?
Exactly. I could have flipped his argument. That would have been a lot more clever. The heights are meaningless. Yeah? It's just in reference to a point on a horizontal datum. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a point. In other words, use his argument by inverting what he's using on the vertical axis for his datum and just put it on the horizontal. I can do it really easily. John just did it. I'm going to steal it. Copyright Nathan Oakley 1980.
Elevations are part of in some vein, a vertical datum. But each one of those verticals and their heights are taken from a horizontal datum. Like, you can't have two different, let's say you can't have two different peaks of mountains, let's just say, on the same piece of land.
No. You're thinking of it all wrong. You haven't got the Bev way of thinking. Think of it. Think of the whole of the sea. Imagine all of it. Now think of it as a single point. You with me, Brian? You there? Single point.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong.
No, but that's what sea level's defined as. That means we're only dealing with a single point. When referencing the sea and its level, it's only the vertical and it's only a single point.
And you can't have 2 points on a point.
Right. But also height is meaningless because height is just a point on a horizontal. That's, you know.
Yes,
so that's also it's all meaningless.
Those heights are just a single point with reference to a horizontal datum. I mean, just a single point. Meaningless stuff, John. Copyright Nathan Oakley 1980.
Great. It's exactly it. Like Nathan said, it really is a lot of overthinking about what Bev's trying to say here, I think. It's just simply lines are imaginary, therefore nothing, and doesn't take any of the other context into it. It's basically the same as Jaron saying, but what if, human beings are fallible?
Exactly.
Therefore, science can't prove anything. It's literally like the same kind of train of thought.
Exactly. You've got to dumb yourself down one level to that sort of, okay, so let's just get the hat on that I'm dealing with my 7-year-old. But what if people didn't exist? That's what you've got to do. Well, the same goes for Bev. You've just got to dumb it down to that level where he's some belligerent 12-year-old saying, well, what if we only take the maths to mean that nothing in measured reality exists because it's just an imaginary line that you're measuring? That's the mentality you've got to dumb yourself down to deal with it. Because if you try and make it more complex, we're mainly talking to you here, Anthony. He's probably disappeared. Talking to you, Anthony, because you're trying to make it more complicated after Brian asked you why we were talking about it.
I'm still here. I'm not trying to make it more complicated. I'm just trying to understand what point he's trying to make. Because I can bake a cake with flour. I can do stuff with angles. Like, I don't get it.
Well, he was famous for his water level in the building project. So is that just a point now?
To be honest with you, the problem...
Oh, just before you start, Brian, can you keep this extremely lengthy? I'll go and put the coffee machine on. I'll get a few, maybe do the dishwasher.
That'll be no problem.
Don't let any dead air in.
No problem.
Don't let any dead air in. I am
No
actually
problem.
moving away
No
from my
problem.
seat. I'm actually going away from the seat, but that was sincere with sarcasm attached.
Brian,
don't worry
listen
about
to
it.
that, Brian.
I'm not Neil. I don't care, but I have thick skin. No, I think, right, well, I couldn't listen to all of the show the other day with Nathan and Bev because I just knew where it was going. I don't know how it ended up. I just knew where it was going. And Nathan was getting angry at Bev. But the problem was, and this is the thing, the problem was that Bev doesn't understand celestial navigation, and he thought it was just a joke. Last year, when I tried to, well, more than last year, go back 2 years, 3 times I tried to detail it to him or explain some of it to him, and I even tried to do a small, very, very basic presentation last year on his show, and he just wasted my time. What's happening now, from what I could figure out from hearing him talk, is that he didn't want to admit he just doesn't know what it is. He doesn't understand it. And he wanted to get some understanding of it from Nathan or Kent or whoever is in here, but he didn't want to admit that. So instead of just admitting that you don't understand, and dropping your pride, he ended up trying to be awkward, and Nathan got angry. And I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think it went the best way it could have gone at all. But the problem is Bev has too much pride. He can't admit when he's wrong. He can't admit when he just doesn't know.
But do you think it might be what I said the other day? Maybe he just doesn't believe that that's a thing. Like he even said it. From what I remember, he said that after Nathan described celestial navigation to him, he said, that's not something I think you can do. That's the exact quote.
That's
Like,
what he does. He doesn't think it's real. That's correct.
So he thinks like celestial navigation is like a joke, like space program or something. He thinks it's a hoax.
Wow.
That people aren't doing that.
I think
because that's the only explanation for this, right? If people are actually doing that, then what we're saying is correct, right? People do this all the time. It's like what?
Didn't Nathan's sister do it? Go ahead, Teddy, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. No, he's staring himself then in the mirror because he told me Polaris establishes your latitude wherever you are when you see it. So he knows enough about that. But that was a death nail for him, but he doesn't accept it as a death nail because then he'll say, well, what does that mean? F all with an angle. Well, you told me it establishes your latitude. Where'd you get that from? And why'd you say that to me? And now you're saying it doesn't do that even?
And the biggest hint of that is them calling the almanac a magic book. Like it's a book of spells or something. It's like, no, the stars are in a certain pattern. You could figure out where they are because this pattern repeats. You could figure out where they are in relation to the earth again and again and again. And then you could put that down in a book. That doesn't make it a magic book. Just makes it a book of what we observe.
I think what he might mean by
talking about.
I think what he might mean by magic book is that the stars aren't conforming to to terrestrial geometry.
You see, that's his big thing. He can't understand why we can have a triangle. He can't understand how the initial triangle is even formed, which is the elevation angle. So it just comes down to just Google an elevation angle. You know what I mean? The definition of them, it's always a right angle triangle. So he can't understand how you can have a right angle triangle, but not solve for the length of sides. He can't get that part. He can't seem to see the process of how it's triangulation, not trigonometry.
Well, he does make the statement, Brian, that geometry is a proof unto itself.
Yeah, but it's only mathematical though by nature. If you got a mathematical proof, 2 + 2 = 4, yeah, that's mathematically proof. Mathematical proof, right? But does it mean that in real world you can then substitute like the apples or the ice creams argument? No, it doesn't. Because if you then substitute it real world, although it might be mathematically true, it's still impossible. So then you've got a contradiction with the real world. You've got the
geometry, though.
So you've got the contradiction of math saying 3 minus 5 equals minus 2, which is mathematically proof. It's true. It's mathematical proof it works. It's true. But in real world, it doesn't work. So it conflicts with reality because you can't do that in real world. Well, what does that say for the geometry proof that he claims that he relies on? That it's a proof in amongst itself. It's conceptual, isn't it? It's abstract. It doesn't reflect a real world.
Well, I'd have to disagree there because geometry is a measurement. So you're actually physically measuring something. You know what I mean? Geometry is like, it's pretty solid. It's just like the axioms in geometry, they're true. You know, they are true to life. Rather than with normal
within
maths,
geometry, they're true. Within geometry, they're true, but only within geometry. Because, like, as I said, if you get a mathematical proof and then try applying it real world, and if it doesn't match, then it might be mathematically true, but it fails to meet up with reality, which the ice creams example proves. So something that's abstract.
Geometry, most of geometry is like it's born from reality. I mean, it's used in reality all the time. Triangles,
radii. But its foundation is based in maths, is it not?
Hold on. Is sine, cosine, and tangent part of geometry?
Well, they're not geometric shapes. They're not geometric shapes.
Well, not everything in geometry is just geometric shapes, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Coordinates
So
too.
sine, cosine. Hold on. Sine, cosine, and tangent are part of geometry, are they not?
Yeah.
Right. But if you take and apply the law of sines, right? Let's see. That's Jason over Jason. Hold on a second.
That's trigonometry.
I thought that was algebra. So now,
my God.
Yeah, that's trigonometry.
That's trigonometry, not geometry.
That's fine.
Right?
Pythagorean theorem. Okay. You can apply the Pythagorean theorem, right?
That's not trigonometry. That's Pythagorean
geometry.
Theorem. That's
in geometry. Yes. Okay. Well, can you solve for a triangle with the Pythagorean theorem?
It depends on what you're solving for. So what's the difference between Pythagorean theorem? So what you're asking is, what's the difference between Pythagorean theorem and trig? Go look it up. Sure, you'll get an answer. I'm eating breakfast, so bye for now.
Yeah, but
look, is Adam? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I didn't take another bite. Is Adam here?
No,
he's in the call.
I haven't heard him.
He's not. He hasn't spoke, so we can assume not.
All right. So somebody go look up the difference between Pythagorean theorem and trig. Everyone gets it right.
Well, Pythagorean theorem uses boxes the area of boxes to state the lengths of a triangle. Sine, cosine, and tangent use the angles and one side to establish the length of all other sides.
Can I ask a different question? Change topic, or is now a bad time to change?
No, I don't care.
I watched the Jeronism and Nathan debate the other night, and somebody in chat said something like, "Be careful with the isms, because like the word ism at the end of a word indicates that it's belief based, scientism, all that kind of stuff." Yep. Jeron calls him. Jeron's name is Jeron, and he has ism at the end of it, Jeronism. I've never really questioned it because, like, right at the very beginning, I thought it was odd to call. So that would be like me saying Tonyism or chocolateism or whatever. I thought it was odd that somebody would do that. But I didn't think too much of it because I just thought it was him just being a dick, not trying to be somewhat like a leader or a cult member or whatever. But when somebody said that in chat, it changed me. I had to reconsider it because I was like, yeah, it does seem a little bit weird that Jaron's going against scientific method and he's using the name Jaronism. Maybe Jaronism is the word that we should use for people that are anti-science. If you're anti-science, you are a Jaronism.
I agree.
Or following Jaronism.
I like it a lot.
The first answer I got about the difference between geometry and trigonometry is we know that geometry deals with different shapes, sizes, positions, and different shapes, but trigonometry is a subset of geometry that deals with properties of one shape called a triangle.
But trigonometry is still not Pythagorean theorem, which also deals with right angles. Right?
But still, the point is geometry deals with shapes, trigonometry deals with triangles. Is a triangle a shape?
Yeah, it is.
Right. Okay, now back to Anthony's point. When you apply trigonometry to the star to get the height of the star, it doesn't work in real world.
Well, it's what it is that you can do it and the trigonometry will work, but in real world, you won't have the actual height.
Right, so it doesn't work in the real world.
That's where Blurst would jump up and down and go fucking mental because they would say, so you're denying that maths is reality, right?
Yeah, and John has a good point about that. No, it's like, in the end of the day, trigonometry is not going to give you the height of a celestial body.
Have you been talking this whole time, Brian? That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Have you had your bath, Nick?
I had a bath. I did the dish, vacuumed, a lot.
Spawned 3 kids.
Dusted.
Spawned 3 more kids.
3 more? I've only got 2.
I know, but I've spawned 3 more, so it's like 9 months plus 9 months plus 9 months. Doesn't matter. It's not funny when you have to explain it.
And we've decided if you deny the scientific method, you are now a Jaronism.
Yeah, you're applying Jaronism because I was just saying, Nathan, that I remember when I first came to the topic and I found Jaron. Now, Jaron's his real name. I didn't know that was his real name, but I saw Jaronism and I thought, I love the graphics that he's got and how pretty he makes it look and all that. And then I found out his name was Jaron and I thought, why would you call yourself Nathanism? Is it some kind of vanity, pride thing, or is it just Nathan being a dick? So I put it down to Jaron being a dick. Well, because surely it wasn't the case that Jaron was actually pushing his own set of beliefs and all that, trying to create a cult. That was just nonsense.
No, that's not. If you actually followed Jaron, you'd know the reason because you'd have heard him explain it, which is to say it's the antithesis of what you've just described. So to say that all these isms are out there when he fundamentally opposes all of them would be to say that it's a piss take to say, well, I'm just going to create one that's my own belief structure and call it Jaronism. So it's like the anti-version of what you're describing as opposed to saying, oh, it's total vanity because I'm going to create a religion based around me. No, it's saying I reject all of those isms and say it's just about what I believe and what I can prove. That's his reasoning behind the title.
Yeah,
So
but
check it out now.
But that would still be falling within the category that he's giving those other groups, black for.
In a way, what Nathan just said kind of backed up Anthony's argument, though. I think.
I thought that too. I didn't want to say it, but it sounded like you described exactly the point I was making.
Yeah.
Like nihilism personified is Jaron.
With substance, because if that's his statement, if that's his story, then yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was nihilism personified. If you open the dictionary and look up the term nihilism, there'd be a picture of Jaron there. That's what it is. He's not listening.
The key point is, what would you call a follower of Jaronism then? Jaronite, Jaronist, or just a Jaron?
Well, I think anybody that's ignoring scientific method yet still claiming science, that would be somebody practicing Jaronism.
Right, but is that a Jaronist?
I'm going to create QEism. And my first working principle is I'm retired. You're not. Have fun at work tomorrow.
Did you watch the minister that gave the story? Did you watch that video I posted? If not, I'll just tell the story.
Tell the story.
Okay, so this 80-year-old guy or 83-year-old guy is queuing up at McDonald's, and he's at the first window, he's placing his order, and the woman behind starts bibbing a horn and shouting obscenities at him, getting very angry because he's taking too long. Can you pop yourself on mute, Anthony? Still causing that.
I'm
feedback.
sorry.
That's right. So he looks to the teller while she's bibbing the horn and says, "Ma'am, can you charge me for her order, please?" And the teller says, "Yeah, certainly, sir." So she instructs him to move on to the second window, which he does. And then the woman behind pulls up to the first window. And the woman explains what's just happened. So then she's leaning out the window, mouthing, "Thank you. Oh, thank you so much," through the back window. And he's thinking to himself, yes, she can't quite believe that her rudeness was met with kindness. But then the guy on the second window comes up to the window, and the guy in the car presents both receipts to the guy, takes both orders and drives off, leaving her with no food. Says, "Don't mess with old people. They've been around a lot longer than you."
Huh.
Yeah, because you've got to pay at the first window, haven't you? So, like, you go to the window, you pay yours, then you pay for the girls behind you. She gets to the window. "It's been paid for, ma'am. Thank you so much." And then he takes his food and fucks off.
No,
That's a great way to troll someone, isn't it?
Takes his and her food and drives
Yeah.
off. So she's got to now
That's a
drive
great-
all the way to the back of the queue.
That's brilliant. I love that.
The minister told it a lot better than I did.
And the moral of the story was don't fuck with old people.
Yeah. They've been messed around a lot more and now to deal with it a lot better.
Sorry.
Go on, Ollie.
There's a shirt with one of my principles of QEism in Ballbusters, Nathan. If you scroll up a little bit, you
I
can
saw
post
it.
that.
It says,
Again.
"I'm retired. You're not." What was the other bit?
Have fun at work tomorrow.
Have fun at work tomorrow, right. I do have fun at work. This is work. I'm having fun.
Not everyone is in that position.
No, that's
Same
true.
as you.
I'm confused though. If I'm a follower of QEism, does that mean I have to retire then?
Yes, it does.
All right.
The question is,
No, QE does not provide a pension for any new members.
Yeah,
Can I ask you a question about the Nathanism?
About the Nathanism, there isn't one.
Yeah, well, we love you like that, though. So, but seriously, Nathan, back on a question that I talked about yesterday with you about the housekeeping questions. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you come up with them? Why those?
That was Anthony's
specifically?
brainchild.
The concept of having housekeeping full stop is Anthony's, who happens to be here today. Anthony came up to me and said,
Okay.
there's got to be
Did
some
he-
way of us being able to consistently disseminate the information that we've gone to all this trouble to accumulate. And there's got to be some sort of housekeeping that we do just regularly, the same thing over and over again, just that keeps us all frosty and keeps us reminded of all the victories that we've had. What can we do? Something that just, sort of does, just keeps house.
Yeah,
There you
it
go.
came from Paul Voigt, wasn't it? Paul Voigt on the Isle of Man basically got cornered over a point and he got battered and battered and battered. And then the next day he came
Molten
back
iron core.
as though nothing had happened.
Molten iron core.
The molten iron core.
Yeah,
so
that was it.
So that makes that the first housekeeping question then.
That's
Any
correct.
evidence of the molten iron core?
The crappiest question, if you ask me. No offense, Anthony.
But nonetheless, though, It was me saying to Nathan, like, we need to keep him held to that, so that, like, because now we've got conspiracy cats, like gas pressure out of container, right? Anytime he gets seen, you ask him that question, and you hold them to task, and they can't answer it, and that's why Paul Voigt disappeared like a fart in a colander. He can't answer that question, so he vanishes. The only one guy that doesn't work against is Rumpus. He's got like kryptonite. He'll hold that up, and he just manages to deflect everything. He'll come back no matter what he says. But that was where it all spawned from. It was keeping people accountable for either the thing that they've said that was wrong or the thing that they can't answer. But when they get cornered, and we got collected over time, and some of them are stronger, some of them are weaker. But nonetheless, you ask those questions to Bliss, and they either can't answer them or they just beg the question straight away.
Wait a second. Stop. Fart in a colander?
What's that? He's not.
It's right, so a colander's that thing with like a sieve where it's got lots of holes in it, and it's not very good for holding a fart in, and that's what Paul Voigt did. He vanished like a fart
for
in a
you
colander.
Americans, just so it works for you guys, fart in a jacuzzi.
That sounds a lot like Ronin Ninja Warrior, where you defeat an enemy and then you also find a new warrior with a new skills. Sounds exactly like what you did when you defeated somebody and then had like a new housekeeping question. Interesting.
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah, because we were looking for him.
You can ascribe almost all of the housekeeping questions to certain individuals. Anthony's already done 2. So you've got Paul Voigt for the Molten Iron Core. You've got conspiracy cats as a result, gas pressure without a container. You know, all of these people you can actually ascribe to the specific arguments, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, now this is what's interesting.
Was it that guy, Jimmy, that came on that gave us the distance to the sun? Because didn't we argue with him about Christian Huygens?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he had that line that wasn't there.
Yeah, and then he disappeared too.
Where does it say that? That was what. But who remembers where any evidence of where did that come from?
I think that might have came from Rumpus, just telling us again and again that.
Nope.
No.
It came from Mick West when Nathan had him. He actually had a conversation with Mick West, and Nathan said, "Come on, Mick, where'd you get the R from? You assume it, don't you?" And he had to admit, and he went, "Yeah," in the weakest, most feeblest voice ever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an assumption of the standard model.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks, Mick. That's what the fuck we've been saying.
Any evidence that gravity, any scientific evidence for gravity, where did that come from?
That came from us.
You and Owen?
QE, I'd say.
See, I think it came from Fight the Flat Earth, and I might be wrong with this, but in my head, that's where it came from. Fight the Flat Earth, when he got George Musa on, and George Musa had to correct him twice, and the gravity is not really a force, but you can think of it as a force. And then Craig basically said, "Yeah, but," and then he said, "What is it, Chocolate?" He says, "We can, we do, we must think of Newtonian gravitation as a force." That doesn't mean it really is a force, but we don't have to work at the really is level. That's where I ascribe it to.
I'm not sure. I think that the gravity question was around before that. Before
Yeah.
the thing.
I thought the QE started it.
Yeah.
Like in the
anything with science in it is mine.
That means it's all of them then, because we're the only ones with science.
Well, in that case, you got to share your breakfast because it's got no science in it.
Remember
Brian said all of this before.
Regular old. Is there any evidence of Earth curves?
Yeah.
That used to be the first question.
So in essence, what you guys are saying is that necessity is the mother of invention, in a way that this information kept coming and somebody felt the need, because it kept looping, to begin classifying, put it into a standard. So you say, here's the answer to the question that keeps repeating. Refer to this. So these standards became the housekeeping. So you keep it simple. So things keep looping. People keep coming back, looping questions is where the housekeeping questions were generated, manifested to begin with a reason and for a purpose. They weren't just arbitrarily pulled.
Right.
So
No,
something was
not all
happening
of
for
them.
the
That's
questions.
cleaning for housekeeping.
Not all of them went like that. A good portion of them went like that. Not all of them.
Okay.
It's a double-edged
Okay.
sword, though. So, like,
Well,
on the one
okay,
hand, you
that's
say
cool.
that half of it is necessity breeds invention. That's one half of it. But the other side of it is the accountability. Because, like, for instance, gas pressure without a container, that's pinned against conspiracy cats and always will be. And he's a teacher that teaches kids this nonsense, right? So it's the accountability of conspiracy cats that will always prevail anytime that question gets asked or challenged or questioned in any way, because we always pin it on him because he's the one that failed at that hurdle.
You can almost see him
So
as like
this
a
morning-
historical text of
bit like
all the of
Eratosthenes.
most of the arguments that we've been through.
Is it a
Right,
bit like
maybe not.
Eratosthenes and the angles and all that, or what's his name, the guy Al-Biruni? So we've got conspiracy cats. He didn't measure angles to the horizon, but he did say that you could have gas pressure without a container in his classroom. Yeah, you're right. The historical figures now.
Yeah. Kind of just
So,
like an outline.
well, see, now just this morning, see, Callie is back again, looping the same kind of thing that's already been answered how many times? He knows he can refer somewhere for information that he's being contra to. He's just being contra, probably not even, I'm just assuming here, probably not even defending something he believes in, just so this movement topples is more of the mission. That's a different lifestyle. Now there's this type of personality that's out there. Now, that's what I'm saying is the housekeeping questions is kind of like the North Star, because it is the standard to refer to, and you can base all the orientation off of that. So these housekeeping questions to me are very, it's in itself is a nice foundation, and I can see how it can expand into more questions. So as the show grows, if it's based off of, and I tried to lead yesterday with Nathan, I did a flimsy job of trying to put down some breadcrumbs for him to, I was trying to set up asking what's the first housekeeping question? It's about the horizon. Then I wanted him to naturally tell me what to reference. Just the beautiful job that QE did with the panel, putting up the Black Swan, that video. Here it is, look at it. Droid kind of takes care of things in the chat, throwing out those bullets when people start talking about things. He puts a link to the reference immediately. Droid's on it. In the live stream, Nathan, you always do a good job of parrying whatever comes your way. The thing is there's going to be more and more of these people, of these personality types coming this way. And truly it is debate. However, these types of people, the personality is just contrary. It's only so this movement doesn't get somewhere is the mission. And it's not really a true debate. They're not really fighting for something, just to tear this place down. And I'll say it like this. It's slick. Like when Bud Light associated whom they did with their target demographic, then they mixed two worlds. And any of their target demographic who goes to reach to purchase one is associated with this image of what Bud Light did. You all know what I'm talking about. That's why it tanked. By association, people don't want to be associated. This personality type comes here. The bomb under the wall that they set is just to associate this when things are so, for example, like we were saying yesterday, if they say flat equals smooth, they're trying to associate this movement with us thinking that when we say flat, we mean the topography is smooth like glass. But that's not what we're saying. But as long as they can associate foolery with the movement, then it's kind of a success. So the saving grace, the foundation, the orientation, the North Star, if you will, is these housekeeping questions for anybody, new or old, on the fence, what have you, wherever you're at in this journey, to reference. So if there were hard call and response, here's the question. Here's the Horizon handled this video, the way QE stepped it through, just amazing, step by step. The panel was there. There was correspondence, the video done just perfectly. That takes care of that housekeeping question. You want to know about the Horizon? Refer to this right here. Bam, that's it. Talking about what the contrary people bring is just looping over and over. And that's why the housekeeping questions were generated, some of them, as you guys admit, to begin with, because of this looping of questions. So what's the next question in the housekeeping series? Has that been addressed? Call and response. Here's the answer to that. So just a nugget of thought. I would like to inject one more thought as to the future of topic of consideration. 10th, by the way, excellent. Next slide, right? I mean, that's his forte. That guy can put together a presentation. Everybody's got a nice department. And this thing can really start working like a motor. So, but for the next thing, I just want to introduce a possible suggestion of mapping, how maps are generated. This seems to be a big issue to show how a globe is generated, how a map can be projected onto a shape, this type of thing.
We've already been through all that, though. We've actually spent quite a lot of time on it. Not a direct housekeeping question roll out of it, but we have tackled with it, and like, don't mention the grid, that kind of, yeah, we went through that, like within the last year and before that too. So yeah, there's like maps are all made as a projection that's based off angle measurement that require a flat plane baseline, right? All of that. That's where that comes from, the baseline. It's because of the direct involvement in map making, right?
So maybe we should have a housekeeping question about maps.
But what would that be?
What world map exists without flat Earth elevation angles?
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem with the maps is
right, but it's already been reduced to a technical question. That we have the housekeeping question, right? The angle of the flat baseline. It covers all of it. Maps, exploration, all of it. So we technically already have something that addresses it. It just doesn't address it directly because there's more things that are even involved in it.
The problem with the maps argument is that
the baseline covers it.
The problem with the maps arguments at its core is that all the coordinates are on the XYZ axis, straight lines, Cartesian coordinate systems. But because space-time is supposed to pervade, basically Einstein's argument was, well, there's nothing in the universe that dictates that we have to use Euclidean geometry. So he doesn't use it. He uses non-Euclidean geometry. And that's what gives him the permission to bend everything around onto a curved surface and basically curve the X and the Y and the Z so that he can do anything he wants with it. And then that's why we all say that all the maps are flat Earth maps, because they're all using XYZ coordinates on Cartesian grid lines.
Yeah, but there's one problem there.
But at the end, I was in there first. But at the end of the day, Brian's still going to be Irish.
Yeah, that is the truth. Every day. The problem with XYZ is this, and that is that it's been hijacked by the globe. So the most popular world map used is the Universal Transverse Mercator map. And what that does is it takes all the latitude and longitude grid that for a globe, not the correct way, but for a globe, and it turns each longitude line into the horizontals or the Y's. Sorry, and it turns each latitude line into the X. So you have a series of X and Y that is a flat map but it's not, because that's the very map that they add the Haversine formula to turn it back into a globe. Because all that is doing is matching back up those longitude line points. Because if you look at that map, it has several longitude lines going through Australia between Sydney and Perth, when there's only, in reality, one longitude line between Sydney and Perth. So that's the problem. X and Y is used all the time in mapping, used by surveyors. But even when surveyors and other disciplines use what they call, and this is another begging the question fallacy, local vertical and local horizontal, right? They then match that to the universal transverse Mercator sometime later on. They'll then convert to. So the point is that they will always have to use X and Y and Z for elevations, but they can match it back to an XY coordinates grid that's based off of the latitude and longitude grid that fits a globe. That's the problem. So it's a bit of a hoodwink. So XYZ, yeah, is it's horizontal plane coordinates, but the way they work it always comes back to globe because of the universal transverse Mercator map. And just one last point on it: what map are the measured circles of equal altitude put directly onto? A universal Mercator, transverse Mercator map. Straight away, as soon as they go onto that map, they're no longer in reality. They're already heading towards globe. So as soon as those measurements come onto that map, straight away, like at that point, those measurements are being manipulated immediately.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!